Planet Caldara, human colony, population 50,000. Colonel Sarah Mitchell stepped through the Stargate, her P-90 at the ready, scanning the immediate area for threats. Behind her, the rest of SG-1 emerged. Dr. Daniel Jackson carrying his ever-present archaeological equipment, Captain Vala Mal Doran with her usual smirk, and their Jaffa ally, Braddock, moving with the measured grace of a warrior who'd seen 1,000 battles. "Well," Vala said, looking around at the peaceful settlement, "this is disappointingly boring. I was promised adventure, Daniel. Where's the danger, the excitement, the near-death experiences?" "For once, I'm hoping we don't find any," Daniel replied, adjusting his glasses. Caldara is a thriving human colony, 50,000 people who have built a peaceful society after generations of gold enslavement. They deserve a quiet visit from SG-1. Mitchell activated her radio. "Stargate Command, this is SG-1. We've arrived on Caldara. No hostiles detected." Beginning survey of the ancient ruins, the colonists reported. "Acknowledged, SG-1, General Landry's voice crackled back. "Keep us posted, and try not to wake up any sleeping gods this time." "No promises, sir," Mitchell replied with a slight smile. The team made their way through the colonial settlement. The architecture was simple but sturdy, a mix of prefabricated structures from earth and locally quarried stone. Children played in the streets. Farmers worked nearby fields. It reminded Mitchell of the frontier towns she'd read about in history books, except these pioneers had traveled through a wormhole instead of across an ocean. Elder Thrace, the colony's leader, met them at the edge of the settlement. He was a weathered man in his 60s, with kind eyes that had seen both slavery under the gold and freedom under his own rule. "Colonel Mitchell, welcome back," he said, clasping her hand warmly. "Dr. Jackson, always a pleasure. The ruins you wanted to examine are just beyond the northern ridge. We've avoided them as you requested. Don't want to disturb anything ancient and potentially dangerous." "Wise decision," Daniel said. "Ancient technology can be unpredictable." They hiked for 30 minutes, the settlement disappearing behind rolling hills. The ruins came into view, partially buried structures that definitely bore the hallmarks of ancient architecture. Smooth lines, crystalline materials, that distinctive aesthetic that the ancients had favored. Daniel immediately went to work, scanning with his ancient scanner, taking photographs, muttering to himself in excitement. "This is remarkable," he said. "These ruins predate anything we've found in this sector. I'm reading energy signatures that suggest some of the technology is still active." "If we can," an alarm on his scanner went off. "That's odd," Daniel frowned. "I'm detecting a massive energy spike. It's coming from above us." Mitchell looked up at the sky. Nothing, just blue sky and weight. Space rippled. Like water disturbed by a stone, reality itself seemed to bend. "What the hell is that?" Vala breathed. Then they appeared, ships, dozens of them, emerging from what looked like miniature wormholes opening directly in orbit. But these weren't any ships Mitchell had ever seen. They were beautiful, golden-hulled, crystalline, with flowing lines that seemed more like art than engineering. They glowed with internal light, pulsing with energy that made the hair on Mitchell's arms stand up even from the surface. "Are those ancient ships?" Vala asked hopefully. "No," Daniel said, his voice tight with fear. "I don't know what those are, but the energy signatures are wrong. Too powerful, too alien." The ships moved with impossible grace, arranging themselves in orbit above Caldara. Then the largest vessel, a massive carrier that dwarfed even the Daedalus-class battlecruisers, began to glow brighter. "They're powering weapons," Braddock observed, his hand on his staff weapon. "I have fought many enemies across many years, but I have never seen ships like these." Mitchell activated her radio. "Stargate Command, this is SG-1. We have contact. Unknown fleet in orbit over Caldara. Repeat, unknown fleet we need." Golden beams of light shot down from the ships, not weapons fire, something else. Teleportation beams. Structures began materializing on the surface. Massive pylons that crackled with energy. Crystalline gateways that shimmered into existence. And then, emerging from those gateways, warriors. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies concealed by gleaming golden armor that seemed to be made of light as much as metal. Glowing eyes, just eyes, no mouths, stared out from elaborate helmets. In their hands, energy blades that hummed with psionic power. "Zealots," Daniel whispered. "No, not zealots. I don't know what." One of the warriors turned toward them. Mitchell felt something touch her mind, not words but intent, pure, cold purpose. Corruption detected, initiating purge protocols. The thought wasn't spoken. It was projected directly into her consciousness. "Run," Mitchell shouted. They ran. Behind them, more warriors materialized. Dozens, hundreds. The settlement's alarms began blaring. Colonists screamed. Weapons fire erupted as the colonial militia tried to fight back with their projectile weapons. It was useless. The warriors' shields absorbed the bullets harmlessly. Their plasma blades cut through barricades like they were paper, and they moved with terrifying efficiency. No wasted motion, no hesitation, just cold, perfect execution. "The gate," Mitchell shouted. "We have to get to the gate." They sprinted back toward the settlement, but it was already a war zone. The Golden Warriors were everywhere, methodically advancing through the streets. Behind them came other constructs, four-legged machines that towered 3 stories high, firing devastating energy beams. Smaller, more agile units that phased in and out of visibility. An explosion rocked the street ahead. Mitchell saw a family, mother, father, 2 children trying to flee. A warrior stepped in front of them, its blade rose. "No," Mitchell opened fire with her P90. The bullets sparked harmlessly off the warrior's shields. The warrior's blade fell. Mitchell turned away, bile rising in her throat. She couldn't save them. She couldn't save anyone. All she could do was get her team to safety and warn Earth. They fought their way to the Stargate Plaza. The gate was still active, the wormhole back to Earth shimmering invitingly. But between them and safety, 10 of the Golden Warriors forming a perfect defensive line. "Braddock, Daniel covering fire," Mitchell ordered. "Vala with me, we're going through," they charged, P90s blazing. Braddock's staff weapon firing plasma bolts. Daniel's Zat gun discharging. Nothing penetrated the shields, but the distraction worked. Mitchell and Vala dove through the line, rolling, coming up running. The Stargate was 20 meters away. 10 meters. 5. A warrior materialized directly in front of them, blade raised. Mitchell fired point blank. The warrior didn't even flinch. Then Braddock was there, his staff weapon smashing into the warrior's face with all his strength. The warrior stumbled, not hurt but surprised. It was enough. "Go!" Braddock roared. They dove through the Stargate. The wormhole caught them, pulled them apart atom by atom, and reassembled them 7 light-years away in the Stargate Command embarkation room. Mitchell tumbled out, rolled to her feet, spun back toward the gate, closed the iris. Now, the iris slammed shut just as a golden blade emerged from the event horizon. The blade struck the iris with a sound like a bell tolling, then withdrew. For a moment, silence. Then Mitchell collapsed to her knees, adrenaline giving way to shock. "They're dead," she whispered. 50,000 people. They're all dead, and we don't even know why. Stargate Command briefing room, 2 hours later. The briefing room was packed. General Hank Landry sat at the head of the table, his weathered face grim. Around him, the Joint Chiefs via video conference, representatives from the IOA International Oversight Advisory, and SG-1, still in their dusty combat gear. The main screen displayed the footage they'd managed to capture before fleeing Caldara, golden ships appearing from nowhere, warriors teleporting to the surface, the systematic destruction of the settlement. "Freeze there," General Landry ordered. The image froze on a close-up of one of the warriors. 8 feet tall, golden armor, glowing eyes, energy blade raised. "Dr. Jackson, what are we looking at?" Daniel removed his glasses, cleaned them, a nervous habit, and put them back on. "I don't know, and that terrifies me. In 15 years with the Stargate program, I've cataloged hundreds of alien species. Goa'uld, Jaffa, Asgard, Ancients, Ori, Replicators, Wraith, but these are completely unknown." "Could they be Ancients?" someone from the IOA asked. "The technology profile?" "No," Daniel said firmly. "Ancient technology uses specific energy signatures. These ships and warriors use something different. The energy patterns are more crystalline, psionic almost, like they're powered by thought as much as technology." "Psionic?" General Landry frowned. "You mean telepathy?" "More than that," Colonel Mitchell interjected. "Sir, when that warrior looked at us, I felt something in my head, not words, just intent, pure purpose. It was like being scanned by a machine and judged by a god simultaneously." "What did it say?" Landry asked. "Corruption detected, initiating purge protocols." Mitchell's hands clenched into fists. "They called us corruption, sir. Then they started killing everyone. No warning, no negotiation, just execution." The room was silent for a moment. "We've analyzed the sensor data from the Prometheus," said Colonel Samantha Carter via video link from the Daedalus, which was en route to Caldara's coordinates. "The ships that appeared are using a form of wormhole technology we've never encountered. Not warp drive, not hyperspace. Something that punches holes directly through spacetime, and their energy output is staggering. A single one of their carriers generates more power than 10 BC 304s combined." "Can we fight them?" Landry asked bluntly. Carter hesitated. "I don't know, sir. We'd need to see how their shields and weapons perform in actual combat. But based on what Colonel Mitchell described, personal shields that can absorb P-90 fire, energy weapons that cut through reinforced structures, I'd say they are at least on par with Ori technology. Maybe more advanced. Then we treat them as a hostile force of unknown but significant capability," Landry decided. "Colonel Mitchell, have we received any communication attempts from these?" "What are we calling them?" "The colonists called the ruins firstborn architecture," Daniel said. "Ancient texts sometimes refer to a race that came before the firstborn, but I always thought that was metaphorical." "Well, it's not metaphorical anymore," Vala said. "We've got 8-foot-tall golden warriors who can teleport through shields and cut through buildings with laser swords. I vote we call them things we should avoid." "Designation doesn't matter right now," Landry said. "What matters is threat assessment and response. Colonel Carter, Ida to Caldara, 4 hours, sir. We'll conduct a full reconnaissance and an alarm klaxon blared." "Sir," Sergeant Harriman's voice came over the intercom. "We're receiving urgent distress calls, multiple Stargate addresses." Landry stood. "Put them through." The main screen split into multiple feeds, different planets, different colonies. But the same scene repeating across every screen: golden ships appearing in orbit, warriors teleporting to the surface. Panic, death. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "How many?" Landry demanded. "At least 6 confirmed attacks," Harriman reported. "Wait, update from the Jaffa High Council. They're reporting 3 of their worlds are under assault as well. Sir, these aliens are hitting us everywhere simultaneously." Mitchell felt ice form in her stomach. "This isn't a raid. This is an invasion." "Casualty estimates?" Landry asked, his voice deadly calm. "Early reports suggest." "Millions, sir, just in the first hour." The room erupted into controlled chaos, people shouting orders, demands for fleet deployments, calls to allied worlds, but all Mitchell could think about was that family she'd seen die, the mother's scream, the children's terror, and the cold, emotionless efficiency with which the Golden Warriors had killed them. Corruption detected. Initiating purge protocols. What did that even mean? What corruption? Why were they doing this? General, she said, cutting through the noise. We need to capture one of these warriors alive. Get answers. Find out what they want. Why they're attacking. Agreed, Landry said. Colonel, you're authorized to assemble a strike team. Capture one of their warriors or recover their technology. We need intelligence on this threat. Dismissed. As the room cleared, Daniel pulled Mitchell aside. Sarah, he said quietly, I've been thinking about what that warrior said. Corruption detected. What if? What if they think we're infected with something? What if this is some kind of quarantine protocol gone wrong? Then we need to convince them they are wrong, Mitchell replied. Before they quarantine the entire galaxy, Protoss carrier Kala's Light. High orbit, planet designation, Caldara. Executor Selendi stood in the command chamber of her carrier, her consciousness linked to the Kala, the psionic network that connected all Kali Protoss. Through it she could sense her fleet, her warriors, even individual zealots fighting on the planet below. And through it she could feel their righteousness, their purpose. They were saving this galaxy from the Zerg. Status report, she projected through the Kala to High Templar Keres, commanding ground forces on Caldara. The purge proceeds as planned, Executor Keres responded, his thoughts precise and emotionless. We have eliminated 87% of the corruption. Resistance has been minimal. The infected creatures fight with primitive projectile weapons that cannot penetrate our shields. Casualties, none among our forces. Total eradication of the corruption is projected within 2 solar rotations. Selendi's felt satisfaction ripple through the Kala. This was the Protoss way. Decisive. Efficient. Honorable. They had tracked the Zerg corruption signature to this galaxy after the wormhole nexus had been discovered near Aer. The Kali scientists had been studying it for months, an ancient Zelnaga artifact that created stable tunnels between distant galaxies. And their scans had detected it, the unmistakable genetic markers of Zerg infestation across dozens of worlds in this new galaxy. The decision had been immediate. The Conclave had authorized a full cleansing expedition. Selendi's had volunteered to lead it, an honor and a burden she accepted with pride. The Zerg were an existential threat, a plague that consumed entire galaxies. The Protoss had fought them for centuries in the Koprulu sector, losing Aer itself to Zerg swarms. Billions of Protoss had died in that endless war, but here in this new galaxy the infestation was still in its early stages. The corruption signatures were weak, scattered, containable. If they acted now, swiftly, mercilessly, they could prevent another Aer, save trillions of lives. Continue the purge, Selendi's commanded. Intaro Tassadar. Intaro Tassadar, Keres echoed. Selendi's turned her attention to the tactical displays. Her fleet had identified 37 worlds with corruption signatures. Her forces had already cleansed 9. The remaining 28 would fall within the week. Then this galaxy would be clean, safe, free from the Zerg threat. Executor, a urgent mental call from Faye Smith-Carax, her chief engineer. We are detecting weapons fire directed at our forward base on the 3rd moon of Caldara. The infected are launching a counterattack. Selendi's felt a flicker of surprise. The infected had shown no signs of coordinated resistance until now. Just scattered, panicked flight. Display tactical, she ordered. A holographic image materialized before her, 3 primitive vessels approaching the forward base. They were crude, metal hulls, chemical propulsion, electromagnetic shields, but they were armed with directed energy weapons that read as surprisingly sophisticated. They dare attack us. Carax's thought carried indignation. Shall I order their destruction? Selendi's considered. The infected were resisting. That suggested higher intelligence than the mindless drones the Zerg usually created in early-stage infestations. Perhaps these creatures retained some measure of their original consciousness. If so, that made the purge more tragic, but no less necessary. Do not destroy them, Selendes decided. Disable their vessels. I wish to examine these infected more closely. If they possess intelligence, I would understand how the Zerg corruption has manifested in this galaxy. The knowledge may help us purge more efficiently. As you command, Executor. Selendes watched as her ships moved to engage. Void rays lancing out, precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy. The primitive vessels' shields collapsed under the assault. Their propulsion failed. They drifted helpless. Board them, Selendes ordered. Take prisoners. Bring them to me. This would be instructive. In all her centuries of fighting the Zerg, she had never captured intelligent infected for study. The Zerg typically consumed their victims completely, leaving nothing but mindless drones. But these creatures, these humans, according to the Kala's translation of their communications, they seemed different. Perhaps understanding them would reveal a weakness in the Zerg's corruption methods, and if the Protoss could learn how to reverse Zerg infestation, that would be a victory worth any cost. BC 304 Korolev, near Caldara's third moon, Colonel Chekhov watched his ship systems fail one by one. Shields, offline. Weapons, offline. Propulsion, offline. Life support, barely functioning. Report, he barked. Sir, we're dead in space, his tactical officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. Those energy beams didn't destroy our systems, they disabled them, like a targeted EMP but more precise. We're completely helpless. Chekhov slammed his fist on the command chair. They'd come to Caldara's moon hoping to study the alien forward base, gather intelligence on this new threat. Instead, they'd been swatted out of the sky like insects. Sir, contacts approaching. Multiple small craft emerging from the alien base. On the view screen, Chekhov watched as sleek, golden fighters approached his disabled ship. They moved with impossible grace, as if physics was a suggestion rather than a law. Prepare for boarding actions, Chekhov ordered. All hands arm yourselves. If they want this ship, we'll make them pay for it. But in his heart, he knew it was futile. These aliens had technology centuries beyond Earth's. They disabled 3 BC 304s in under 30 seconds. What chance did his crew have in close combat? Still, they were Stargate Command. They didn't surrender. The hull shuddered, cutting through or teleporting through. Chekhov couldn't be sure. Then golden light flooded the bridge. Warriors materialized, those same 8-foot-tall figures that had slaughtered Caldara's colonists. Their glowing eyes swept the bridge, and Chekhov felt that same mental pressure Colonel Mitchell had described. Do not resist. You will not be harmed if you comply. The thought wasn't threatening. It was simply stating fact. Chekhov raised his sidearm anyway. I am Colonel Anton Chekhov of the Tory Starfleet. By whose authority do you board my vessel? The warrior tilted its head, as if confused by the question. You are infected with Zerg corruption. You will be examined. If the corruption can be purged without terminating your life function, this will be attempted. Zerg, we're not infected with anything. Genetic scans indicate otherwise. You will comply. The warrior's blade ignited. Chekhov fired. The bullet sparked harmlessly off the warrior's shield. Golden light surrounded him, and the world dissolved into teleportation. Protoss carrier Kala's light, detention chamber Colonel Chekhov materialized in a chamber that looked more like a temple than a prison. Crystalline walls glowed with soft light. The floor was seamless, organic-looking. And standing before him, a figure even more imposing than the warriors who'd captured him. She, and somehow he knew it was female despite the armor, stood 9 feet tall. Her armor was more elaborate than the warriors', adorned with intricate designs that seemed to shift and flow. Her eyes glowed brighter, more intensely, and when her presence touched his mind, it was overwhelming. I am Executor Selendis of the Protoss Dalam. You are infected with Zerg corruption. I will examine you to determine if purging is possible without termination." "I don't know what Zerg means," Chekhov said, trying to keep his voice steady. "But I can assure you we're not infected with anything. We're human from Earth. We mean you no harm." Selendis tilted her head. "You claim ignorance of the Zerg. That is unexpected, but genetic scans do not lie. The corruption signature is present in your DNA. Then your scans are wrong. We've been fighting parasites for years, the Goa'uld, the Ori, but we've defeated them. We're free. The Goa'uld, the Ori." Selendis' thought carried curiosity. "I know not these names, but it matters not. The Zerg corruption is present. That is sufficient reason for purging. You're killing millions of innocent people based on faulty sensor readings. Innocence is irrelevant when the Zerg are involved. The infestation must be contained before it spreads. This is the way. This is honor." Chekhov felt despair. How could you reason with someone who believed mass murder was honorable? "Please," he said, "let us prove we're not infected. Let us show you we're not your enemy." "We can. You will be examined," Selendis interrupted. "If you are truly not infected, the Kala will reveal this truth. But I warn you, if the examination proves corruption, you will be purged. There is no third option." Golden light surrounded him again, and Chekhov's last thought before unconsciousness was, "God help us all." Planet Chulak. Jaffa homeworld. Teal'c stood on the walls of the Jaffa capital, watching the sky burn. The golden ships had arrived 3 hours ago, dozens of them, appearing without warning, surrounding Chulak in a perfect spherical formation. And then the warriors had come, teleporting directly into the city, bypassing all defenses, beginning their systematic purge. But the Jaffa were not helpless colonists. They were warriors. They had fought the Goa'uld for generations. They would not fall without a battle. "Braddock," Teal'c called to his old mentor, "what is the status of the shield generators?" "Offline," Braddock replied grimly, his aged face set in determination. "Their first strikes were precise. They knew exactly where to hit to disable our defenses. Teal'c, these are no ordinary invaders. They fight with purpose and honor but show no mercy." "Then we show them what Jaffa warriors are capable of," Teal'c said. "Kelshak Kree, to arms!" The battle cry echoed across the city. Thousands of Jaffa warriors rushed to defensive positions, staff weapons ready, determination in their eyes. The Golden Warriors advanced through the streets in perfect formation. Their shields shimmered, absorbing staff weapon blasts. Their energy blades cut through barricades. But for the first time since their invasion began, they were meeting resistance that hurt them. Because the Jaffa didn't just have staff weapons. They had plasma grenades, close combat training, and centuries of experience fighting enemies who thought themselves gods. Teal'c led a squad into close-quarters combat. He couldn't penetrate the warriors' shields with ranged fire, but up close, using his strength and combat skills, a warrior's blade swept toward him. Teal'c ducked, rolled, came up inside the warrior's guard, and drove his blade directly into an exposed joint in the armor. The warrior staggered. Not dead, these beings were incredibly resilient but wounded. They can bleed, Teal'c thought. They can be hurt, they can be beaten. "Jaffa, close combat, target the joints," he roared. The Jaffa warriors adapted immediately, swarming the Golden Warriors, using their numbers and experience to overcome superior technology. But for every warrior they brought down, 2 more materialized. And in the sky above, the golden ships began targeting the city directly. Energy beams lanced down, vaporizing entire blocks. "They're bombarding us," Braddock shouted. "Teal'c, we must evacuate. We cannot win this." "I will not abandon Chulak," Teal'c replied. "Then Chulak will be your grave, and all Jaffa will die with you." Teal'c looked around at the burning city. At his warriors, fighting bravely but hopelessly against an enemy they couldn't defeat. At civilians trapped in buildings, screaming as energy beams struck. He had a choice: die with honor or retreat and live to fight another day. It was the hardest choice he'd ever made. "Sound the retreat," he said quietly. "All forces fall back to the Stargate." Space battle above Chulak. The Daedalus dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Chulak's system, scanners immediately detecting the battle in orbit. "My God," Colonel Caldwell whispered from the command chair. "How many ships are there?" 37 capital ships, Carter reported from tactical. "And hundreds of fighters. They are engaging Jaffa Haddock vessels. Sir, the Jaffa are getting slaughtered." On the view screen, the battle was brutal. Golden ships moved with impossible precision, their weapons cutting through Haddock shields like they weren't there. Jaffa vessels returned fire desperately, but their plasma cannons barely scratched the alien shields. "Get us in there," Caldwell ordered. "Target the nearest enemy capital ship. All weapons fire." The Daedalus surged forward, her Asgard beam weapons lancing out. The beam struck a Protoss carrier's shields and dissipated harmlessly. "What?" Carter stared at her console in disbelief. "Sir, their shields just adapted. The Asgard beam should have penetrated, but they evolved in real time. Then we use everything else. Railguns, missiles." Nakwata warheads. The Daedalus unleashed her full arsenal. Kinetic rounds hammered the carrier. Missiles detonated against shields. A Nakwata warhead, equivalent to a small nuclear device, exploded in a brilliant flash. When the light cleared, the carrier was undamaged. "How is that possible?" Caldwell demanded. "Sir, I'm reading energy signatures consistent with psionic shielding," Carter said. "These aren't just technological shields. They're being reinforced by psychic energy. I don't think we can penetrate them with conventional weapons." Then we get creative. "Helm ramming speed, target that carrier's engines." "Sir, that's do IT." The Daedalus accelerated, aiming to ram the carrier directly. But the carrier simply blinked out of existence, teleporting several thousand kilometers away. "Okay, that's just cheating," Caldwell muttered. Then the carrier's weapons locked onto the Daedalus. Golden beams lanced across space, not energy weapons, but something else. Void rays that seemed to unmake matter rather than simply destroy it. The Daedalus's shields held for exactly 3 seconds. Then they collapsed. "Brace for impact." The void rays struck the hull. Metal vaporized, decks decompressed. And throughout the ship, crew members who'd survived the Ori, the replicators, the Wraith, met their end at the hands of an enemy they didn't understand. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 9, Carter shouted. "We've lost weapons, propulsion failing. Sir, we need to retreat." "Agreed." Helm jumped to hyperspace. "Get us out of." Another void ray struck the hyperdrive. They were dead in space. "Abandon ship," Caldwell said quietly. "All hands to the escape pods. That's an order." Carter didn't move. "Sir, that's an order, Colonel." As the crew evacuated, Caldwell stayed in his command chair, watching the golden ships approach. He'd been a career military officer. He'd faced death before, but never against an enemy like this. An enemy that was beautiful and terrible in equal measure. An enemy that killed without hesitation, without mercy, but also without malice. They weren't monsters. They were something worse, zealots who believed they were righteous. Surface of Chulak, Stargate Plaza. Teal'c's forces reached the Stargate just as the first Golden Warriors caught up with them. "Dial the gate," Teal'c ordered. "All forces, retreat through to the Alpha site." The Stargate activated, the wormhole establishing. Jaffa warriors streamed through, carrying wounded, defending the retreat, but the warriors kept coming, and in the sky more were teleporting down. Teal'c was the last to fall back, fighting a desperate rearguard action with Braddock at his side. "Go!" Braddock shouted. "I will hold them. We go together or not at all, old friend." They fought back-to-back, 2 Jaffa masters against impossible odds. Then a golden blade swept down and Teal'c felt nothing. His staff weapon clattered to the ground. Braddock screamed his name. But the sound grew distant as golden light surrounded Teal'c. Teleportation. He was being taken. His last thought before the world dissolved: I have failed my people. Protoss carrier Kala's Light Selendis watched as the Jaffa warrior materialized in her detention chamber. He was massive, nearly 7 feet tall, powerfully built, with strange markings on his forehead and an X-shaped scar across his face. And in his eyes, defiance. She reached out with her mind, intending to probe his consciousness as she had with the other infected specimen. But this one was different. His mind was strong, disciplined. Unlike the panicked, chaotic thoughts of the human Chekhov, this warrior's consciousness was focused, centered, trained. You are Jaffa, she projected. The warrior didn't flinch at the psionic contact. I am Teal'c of the Free Jaffa Nation. And you have made a grave error attacking my world. Your world is infected with Zerg corruption. We have saved it from eventual consumption. We are not infected. We are free beings. We overthrew our false gods and claimed our independence. And you slaughter us like animals. You fight with honor, Selendis admitted. Your warriors show courage and skill. But honor does not change what you are. Vectors for Zerg infestation. You must be purged. Then purge me, Teal'c said, spreading his arms. Examine me. Prove your accusations. Or admit that you are wrong and that you have committed genocide against innocents. Selendis felt something strange through the Kala, doubt. This warrior spoke with conviction. His mind showed no signs of Zerg corruption, no hive instinct, no collective consciousness, no biological imperatives toward consumption. He was individual, conscious, defiant, just like a Protoss. I will examine you, she decided, and if you are truly not infected, I will reconsider. But even as she projected that thought, Selendis knew. If these beings were not infected, if the genetic scans had been wrong, if the Protoss had been killing innocents for days, then the Dalam had committed an atrocity, and honor would demand a terrible reckoning. Protoss carrier Kala's Light. Detention chamber. Teal'c had been imprisoned for 3 days. 3 days in a crystalline chamber that was beautiful and terrible in equal measure. The walls glowed with soft light that never dimmed. There were no visible doors. He'd materialized here via teleportation and hadn't seen an exit since. And always he felt the presence, multiple consciousnesses touching the edge of his mind, observing him, analyzing him. The Protoss were watching, always watching. On the 4th day, one of them finally appeared. The warrior materialized in a flash of golden light, 9 feet tall, elaborate armor adorned with symbols Teal'c didn't recognize, eyes glowing with psionic intensity. But unlike the zealots who'd captured him, this one radiated age, wisdom, power tempered by centuries of experience. I am High Templar Karas, the thought projected directly into Teal'c's mind. I have come to understand what you are. I am Teal'c of the Free Jaffa Nation, Teal'c replied, standing to face his captor with dignity despite his imprisonment. And I demand to know by what right you hold me. Right. Karas tilted his head, the gesture oddly human. We hold you because you carry the genetic markers of Zerg corruption. We examine you to determine if purging is necessary. This is not about rights. This is about survival. I carry no corruption. My people were enslaved by the Goa'uld for thousands of years, but we threw off their yoke. We are free, the Goa'uld. Karas's thought carried curiosity. I know not this term. Explain, and so Teal'c did. He explained the Goa'uld, parasitic beings who claimed to be gods, who enslaved entire civilizations, who implanted themselves in Jaffa bodies to extend their lives. He explained the rebellion, the wars, the hard-won freedom. As he spoke, he felt Karas's presence in his mind, not invasive but observant, reading his memories, verifying his words. Fascinating, Karas finally projected. Your species was indeed enslaved by parasites, but not the Zerg. These Goa'uld are different, symbiotic rather than consuming, technological rather than biological. Then you understand, we are not your enemy, we are victims like you, perhaps. Karas's thought carried hesitation. But the genetic scans do not lie. You carry markers that match Zerg corruption signatures. Explain this if you can. I cannot explain what I do not understand, but I know what I am, a warrior who has fought for freedom my entire life. I know honor when I see it, and I see it in you and your people. This slaughter you commit, it is beneath you, the words hung in the air. Or rather in the psychic space between them. Karas was silent for a long moment. Then you speak of honor, you recognize it in us. That is unexpected. The Zerg have no concept of honor. They are mindless consumers, driven only by the imperative to assimilate and destroy. Yet you are clearly conscious. Individual, you possess honor, courage, defiance. This does not align with what we know of Zerg corruption. Because we are not Zerg, Teal'c stepped forward, meeting Karas's glowing gaze. Whatever your sensors detect, it is a mistake. Test me. Examine me. Prove that I am what I say I am. Very well. Karas raised one hand. I will probe your mind directly. This will be uncomfortable, but you will survive. Do what you must. Karas's consciousness slammed into Teal'c's mind with overwhelming force. Teal'c gasped, falling to his knees as memories flooded through him. No, not just his memories. Karas was sharing his own experiences, creating a two-way exchange of consciousness that let the High Templar see the truth of what Teal'c was. Karas saw Teal'c's childhood on Chulak, training to be a warrior, his service to Apophis, the shame of serving a false god, the day he met the Tory and chose freedom over slavery, the rebellion, the wars, the countless battles to protect innocents from those who would enslave them. And in return, Teal'c saw Karas's memories of the Zerg, worlds consumed, civilizations dissolved into organic matter, air itself falling to the swarm, the horror of watching the Kala, the sacred psionic bond, being corrupted by Zerg infestation. He understood suddenly why the Protoss were so ruthless. They weren't monsters. They were traumatized survivors of genocide, terrified of it happening again. The connection broke. Both warriors staggered, breathing heavily, or in Karas's case, the psychic equivalent of breathing heavily. You are not Zerg, Karas projected, his thought carrying shock and dawning horror. You have never been Zerg. You are exactly what you claim, a warrior who fights for freedom. We have been slaughtering innocents. Yes, Teal'c said quietly. You have millions of them, good people. Free people, people who deserve to live. This is catastrophic. Karas's presence in the Kala rippled with distress. We came to this galaxy to prevent another Aer, to stop the Zerg before they could consume everything. But we were wrong. The corruption signatures we detected, they are not Zerg, they are something else, and we have committed genocide based on faulty data. Then stop, Teal'c said. Stop the attacks, stop the purge, call for ceasefire and meet with our leaders. We can end this war before more die. It is not so simple. I am but one Templar. Executor Selendis commands the fleet. She must believe that we are righteous, that the purge is necessary. To admit error now with millions already dead would be honorable, Teal'c interrupted. You speak of honor, prove it. Tell your executor the truth. Let her decide. Karas was silent. Then you are correct. Honor demands truth no matter how painful. I will report to Executor Selendis, and I will advocate for immediate cessation of hostilities. And what of me? You will remain here. If Selendis orders the purge to continue, you will be released to warn your people. If she heeds my counsel, perhaps you can help broker peace. Either way, Teal'c of the Free Jaffa, you have earned my respect. Entaro Tassadar. What does that mean? It means, in honor of Tassadar, a Protoss hero who sacrificed himself to save our people. It is how we honor the worthy. Karas vanished in a flash of golden light, leaving Teal'c alone with his thoughts. For the first time since his capture, Teal'c felt hope. Perhaps this war could be stopped. Perhaps the Protoss could be reasoned with. Perhaps. Bridge of the Kala's light high Templar Kara stood before Executor Selendes, his consciousness linked to hers through the Kala, sharing everything he'd learned from Teal'c's mind. You see the truth, he projected. They are not Zerg. They have never been Zerg. We are killing innocents. Selendes processed the information, her consciousness roiling with conflicting emotions that rippled through the Kala. Doubt, horror, denial. The genetic scans are detecting something other than Zerg corruption, Karez interrupted. I do not know what, but it is not the swarm. These beings, these humans, these Jaffa, they are free, conscious, honorable. They deserve better than slaughter. Millions are already dead, Selendes projected, her thought heavy with the weight of that knowledge. Worlds purged, cities burned. If we were wrong, if this has all been a mistake, then we must stop, immediately, and seek to make amends. Amends. Selendes's presence flared with anger, not at Karez but at the universe for putting her in this position. How does one make amends for genocide, Karez? How do we restore the millions we have killed? How do we undo the horror we have inflicted? We cannot, but we can stop inflicting more. We can seek truth. We can know. Selendes's thought was final. We have committed to this course. 12 worlds remain under siege. Thousands of our warriors are engaged in purging operations. To stop now, to admit error, would be to act with honor. Karez's projection carried uncharacteristic passion. Executor, I have served the Templar caste for 4 centuries. I have fought in countless battles. I have never questioned your commands. But this I cannot support. If you continue the purge knowing these beings are innocent, you commit not defensive action, but murder. The Kala trembled with the force of their disagreement. Other Protoss on the ship felt it. 2 ancient warriors, bound by the sacred psionic link, standing on opposite sides of a moral chasm. You dare lecture me on honor? Selendes's anger was cold, controlled, but absolute. I am executor. I carry the burden of command. I make decisions you cannot comprehend. Then make the right one. Stop the purge. Seek truth. Act with the honor that defines us. I have made my decision, Selendes projected. The purge continues. We will complete what we began. And when this galaxy is clean, when the corruption, whatever its true nature, is eradicated, then we will consider whether our actions were just. You are making a mistake. That is my burden to bear. Dismissed, High Templar. Karez's presence withdrew from direct contact, but his disapproval rippled through the Kala like a wound that wouldn't heal. Selendes stood alone on her bridge, watching the tactical displays show her fleet's positions. 12 worlds still under attack. Millions more would die in the coming days, and deep in her consciousness, where even the Kala couldn't see, a small voice whispered, "What if Karez is right?" She silenced it, buried it, focused on her duty, because if she admitted error now, she would have to face the magnitude of what she'd done. And that was a truth too terrible to bear. Earth, Antarctica, ancient outpost. Dr. Daniel Jackson stood in the research chamber of the ancient outpost, staring at a holographic display that shouldn't exist. The ancients, the Lanteans, the Alterans, the first evolution of humanity, had built outposts across 2 galaxies. This one, buried under Antarctic ice, contained their knowledge, their technology, their history, and apparently their records of species from other galaxies. "I can't believe we missed this," Daniel muttered, scrolling through files with the ancient gene interface that Colonel Mitchell had helped him activate. "Years of research, and we never found the xenobiological archives." "To be fair," Mitchell replied from across the room, "we've been a bit busy with gold, Ori, replicators, and now golden aliens trying to purge the galaxy. Can't blame us for not doing a complete catalog." "Fair point. But Sarah, look at this." Daniel pulled up a holographic image, a towering figure in golden armor, glowing eyes, holding an energy blade, unmistakably Protoss. "The ancients encountered them," Daniel breathed, "millions of years ago." The database calls them firstborn, beings created by an even older race called the Xel'Naga. Xel'Naga, Mitchell moved closer. That's a mouthful. It means wanderers from afar in their language. According to this, the Xel'Naga were an ancient species dedicated to creating perfect life forms. They engineered the Protoss to be pure in form, psionic, advanced, bound by something called the Kala. That psychic network thing that lets them share thoughts. Exactly. But Daniel. Look at this. Daniel pulled up another file. The Xel'Naga also created a second species, in a different galaxy. This one was designed to be pure in essence, perfect biological adaptation, relentless evolution. The hologram shifted to show a nightmare, a creature of chitin and claws, teeth and rage, monstrous, consuming. The Zerg, Daniel whispered. The Xel'Naga created both species. The Protoss and the Zerg, and for millions of years they've been at war. Mitchell stared at the image. So when the Protoss arrived in our galaxy and started killing everyone, they thought we were Zerg. Or infected by Zerg. Daniel pulled up another display, this one showing genetic markers. And here's why. The ancient gene, the genetic sequence that lets humans use ancient technology, it shares structural similarities with Zerg DNA. Wait, we're part Zerg? No. But the Xel'Naga used similar genetic engineering principles when they created the Zerg as the ancients used when they uplifted humanity. To Protoss sensors, the signatures look similar enough that they think we're infected, Mitchell finished. They're not trying to conquer us. They're trying to save the galaxy from what they think is a Zerg outbreak. Exactly. This is a tragic misunderstanding on a galactic scale. Mitchell's expression hardened. Then we need to make them understand, fast, before they save us to death. Agreed. But how do we communicate with an enemy that won't talk to us? We go to them, Mitchell said. We take this evidence directly to their ships, show them the ancient database, prove we're not Zerg. Sarah, that's suicide. We'd have to get aboard a Protoss carrier, get to whoever's in charge, and convince them we're telling the truth, all without getting purged in the process. You got a better idea? Daniel was silent. Didn't think so. Besides, Mitchell's jaw set with determination. Teal'c is on one of those carriers. I'm not leaving him there. Then we'll need a plan, a very, very good plan. 18 hours later, Protoss carrier Kala's light, approach vector. The plan was insane. Mitchell knew it. Her team knew it. Even General Landry had called it suicidal when approving it. But it was the only plan they had. The captured Protoss shuttle, salvaged from Chulak after the battle, drifted toward the massive carrier on minimal power. Inside, Mitchell's team sat in tense silence, hoping the shuttle's Protoss IFF transponder would fool the carrier's sensors long enough for them to get close. Approaching weapons range, Lieutenant Marks whispered from the pilot's seat. If they're going to shoot us, it'll be in the next 30 seconds. 20 seconds passed. 10, 5. We're through, Marks breathed. They're not firing. They think we're one of theirs. Don't celebrate yet, Mitchell muttered. We still have to board, find Teal'c, and get to whoever's in charge. Plenty of time to die. The shuttle docked with the carrier's landing bay, a vast space filled with crystalline structures and Protoss craft in various states of deployment. Golden warriors moved through the bay, teleporting from place to place with casual ease. Okay, Mitchell said, checking her weapons. We're looking for detention areas, prisoners, anything that. The shuttle door opened before they could finish docking procedures. A dozen Protoss zealots stood outside, energy blades ignited, glowing eyes fixed on the shuttle. We know you are not Protoss, a thought projected into their minds. Surrender, you will not be harmed. Well, Vala said cheerfully, that went poorly. Mitchell raised her hands. We surrender, but I demand to speak to whoever's in command. I have information about the Zerg corruption you're detecting, information that will change everything. The zealots didn't move. Then, you will be brought before Executor Selendis. She will determine your fate. Works for me. Detention chamber. They materialized in the same crystalline chamber where Teal'c was being held. Colonel Mitchell, Teal'c rose from where he'd been sitting. You should not have come. This is. Good to see you too, T, Mitchell interrupted. And we didn't have much choice. We needed to talk to the Protoss, and knocking on their door seemed like the direct approach. The direct approach to getting killed, Daniel muttered. Before Teal'c could respond, golden light flooded the chamber. Executor Selendes materialized before them, 9 feet of imposing armor and psionic presence that made the air itself feel heavy. I am Executor Selendes, her thought projected with absolute authority. You have infiltrated my vessel. You carry Zerg corruption signatures. You will explain why I should not purge you immediately. Mitchell stepped forward, meeting Selendes' glowing gaze. Because we're not infected with anything, and we can prove it. Prove it how? Daniel activated a portable holographic projector, ancient technology that he'd brought specifically for this moment. The device showed the same images from the Antarctic database, Xel'Naga, Protoss, Zerg, and the genetic markers that explained the confusion. Your creators, the Xel'Naga, they used similar genetic engineering principles when making the Zerg as another ancient race called the Ancients used when uplifting humanity, Daniel explained rapidly. The DNA signatures overlap, but we're not Zerg. We're not infected. We're just genetically similar enough that your sensors can't tell the difference. Selendes stared at the hologram. Her presence in Mitchell's mind rippled with shock. You have ancient technology. You understand the Xel'Naga. You know of the Zerg without being corrupted by them. We've been fighting false gods and parasites for 15 years, Mitchell said. The Goa'uld claim to be gods and enslaved us. The Ori claim ascension and demand worship. We've learned to question anyone who claims divine authority, including the Zerg if they are real and if they ever come here. They are real, and they are not gods. They are plague, consumption incarnate, and my people have fought them for centuries. We believe you, Mitchell said gently, but we're not them. We're not your enemy. And if you continue this purge, you're not saving the galaxy. You're committing genocide against innocent people who have done nothing wrong. Selendes was silent for a long moment. Her consciousness reached out, touching Mitchell's mind, not invasively but seeking truth, and Mitchell let her in. Showed her memories, fighting Apophis, saving Abydos, the replicators, the Ori, every battle, every sacrifice, every moment where Earth had chosen courage over surrender. You fight as we do, Selendes projected, her thought heavy with realization. You stand against false gods. You protect the innocent. You value honor, courage, sacrifice. You are not so different from Protoss. No, Mitchell agreed. We're not. We're warriors, same as you, just trying to survive in a dangerous galaxy. Then I have made a terrible mistake. Selendes' presence carried a weight of grief that was almost physical. Millions dead, worlds burned, all because I believed we were saving this galaxy from the Zerg. But we were the monsters. We were the plague. You didn't know, Daniel said. This was a tragic accident. A misunderstanding based on incomplete information. Ignorance does not absolve guilt. I am executor. I commanded the purge. The deaths are mine to carry. Then make it right, Mitchell said. Stop the attacks. Call for ceasefire. Work with us to find a peaceful solution. My warriors are committed to 12 active siege operations. To call them back now, to admit error, would be the honorable thing to do, Teal'c interjected. I have spoken with High Templar Keras. He believes the purge should stop. Others in your ranks must feel the same, and others do not. There are those among us who believe strength is all that matters, that mercy is weakness. If I call for ceasefire, they will see it as betrayal. Let them, Mitchell said firmly. You're the executor. You make the hard calls. So make this one. Stop the killing. Save the lives that can still be saved, and deal with the consequences after. Selendes stood motionless for what felt like an eternity. Then, you are correct. Honor demands I stop immediately. But know this, Colonel Mitchell, what I am about to do may fracture my fleet, split my forces, create civil war among the Protoss, and if that happens, this galaxy may face an even greater threat than the Purge. We'll deal with that when it comes, Mitchell replied. Right now, let's just stop the dying. Agreed. You and your companions will remain here while I address my fleet. Teal'c of the Free Jaffa, you have earned release. You may return to your people and inform them of the ceasefire. I will remain, Teal'c said, as liaison. As proof that Protoss and Jaffa can work together, Selendis' presence radiated surprise then approval, bravely spoken. Intaro Tassadar, warrior, she vanished in golden light. Mitchell exhaled slowly. Did we just talk a alien fleet commander out of genocide? I believe we did, Daniel said. That's a first. Bridge of the Kala's light. 2 hours later, Selendi stood before the assembled command staff of her fleet, every executor, Templar, and phase smith who commanded significant forces. Their presences in the Kala created a chorus of consciousness, all focused on her. She had called them to hear her decision, and she knew many would not accept it. I have examined the humans personally, she projected to all of them simultaneously. I have probed their minds, studied their technology, analyzed their claims, and I have reached a conclusion that will be difficult for many to accept. We were wrong. The Kala erupted with shocked responses, denial, anger, confusion. The corruption signatures we detected are not Zerg. They are genetic markers left by another ancient race, beings called ancients who uplifted humanity, using principles similar to those the Xel'Naga used. The similarity in genetic engineering methods created false positives in our scans. The beings we have been purging, the humans, the Jaffa, all the species of this galaxy, they are not infected, they have never been infected. They are innocent. Lies. The projection came from Executor Nyan, a stern warrior who commanded 15 carriers. This is deception. The humans have corrupted your mind, Selendis. They seek to turn you against the Kala. I have examined their ancient databases personally, Selendis replied with forced calm. The evidence is irrefutable. We made an error based on incomplete data. Then the data is falsified. Nyan's presence radiated fury. The Zerg are masters of deception. This is exactly what they would do, convince us to stop the purge so they can spread unchecked. These beings are not Zerg. Selendis projected with all her authority. I have touched their minds. I have seen their memories. They fight false gods just as we do. They value honor, courage, sacrifice. They are warriors, not parasites. Then you are corrupted, Nyan projected coldly. The Kala shows me truth, you have been compromised. You are no longer fit to command. The Kala trembled. A challenge to an executor's authority was nearly unthinkable in Protoss culture, but Nyan had just made it explicit. You dare question my command. Selendis' presence flared with anger. I question your judgment. You have allowed sentiment to cloud your purpose. The purge must continue. The galaxy must be cleansed. If you lack the strength to do what is necessary, then others will. Others will. High Templar Karas's presence entered the debate. Will you split our forces, Nyan? Will you fracture the Daylam over this, if necessary? The Kala demands we purge corruption wherever we find it. If Selendis will not lead that purge, then she is not worthy of her rank. Selendis felt the fleet's consciousness dividing. Some supported her, saw wisdom in ceasefire, in seeking truth. But others aligned with Nyan, believed strength was paramount, that mercy was weakness. The schism was happening, just as she'd feared. Very well, she projected, her thought carrying cold finality. Those who believe we should cease the purge, who trust in my judgment, who value honor over pride, you will stand with me. Those who believe strength requires continued slaughter, you will follow Nyan. But know this, the Kala binds us all. Whatever choice you make, you will carry that choice for the rest of your existence. Choose wisely. For a long moment, silence in the psychic realm. Then presences began aligning, choosing sides. 60% stayed with Nyan, hardliners, traditionalists. Warriors who believed the purge was justified regardless of evidence. 40% aligned with Selendis, including Karas and most of the older, more experienced Templar. So be it, Nyan projected. You have made your choice, Selendis. And when the Zerg consume this galaxy because you were too weak to stop them, remember, their deaths will be on your conscience. His presence withdrew from direct contact, and across the fleet, 40% of the vessels began breaking formation, following Nyan toward the remaining siege targets. Selendis watched them go, her consciousness heavy with the knowledge that she just fractured her own people. Executor, Karas projected privately, "You made the honorable choice. History will vindicate you." Perhaps, Selendis replied. But in the meantime, we have a galaxy full of beings who rightfully hate us, and half our fleet still trying to kill them. How do we make this right? One step at a time. Beginning with releasing your prisoners and opening formal communication with the Tory leadership. Selendis returned to the detention chamber where Mitchell's team waited. "You are free," she projected, "all of you. Return to your people. Tell them the purge, my portion of it, ends immediately. Tell them Executor Selendis of the Protoss Dalam seeks, not alliance, not yet, but understanding." Mitchell stood. "What about the rest of your fleet? The 60% that doesn't believe you? They are beyond my control now. Executor Nyan commands them, and he will continue the purge until forcibly stopped or until he achieves what he believes is victory. Then we have a problem. Because our people won't accept a partial ceasefire. Either all Protoss forces stand down or the war continues. I understand, and I cannot give you what you ask, but I can give you this: intelligence on Nyan's forces, tactical data, advance warning of attacks. And my ships will not oppose yours if you move to defend against Nyan's purges. You'd fight your own people. I would prevent genocide, even if committed by those who once called me sister." Mitchell considered this, then extended her hand, a human gesture of agreement. "Then we have a deal. Temporary cooperation against a common enemy." Selendis stared at the hand, confused. "It's called a handshake," Daniel explained. "A gesture of agreement, of trust." Selendis had no hands, her armor concealed whatever limbs the Protoss possessed. But she extended one armored appendage and grasped Mitchell's hand carefully. The gesture felt absurdly important. An ancient warrior race and a young human civilization, reaching across the gulf of misunderstanding to find common ground. Entaro Tassadar, Colonel Mitchell. "What does that mean?" "It means, in honor of the worthy, may we both prove worthy of this trust." Planet Langara, 2 days after the split. The planet was a contested world, half held by Nyan's forces, half by the local human militia supported by Selendis' ships in orbit. The battle lines were fluid, chaotic, with civilians trapped between 3 factions. Nyan's zealots purging anyone they could reach, human defenders trying to evacuate, and Selendis' forces attempting to create safe corridors. It was a humanitarian nightmare. Colonel Mitchell led an SG team through the ruins of Langara's capital, trying to reach a civilian shelter that housed 3,000 people. Behind her, 4 Protoss zealots from Selendis' faction, providing support. It was surreal, fighting alongside the very beings who'd been trying to kill her 2 weeks ago. "Contact!" Lieutenant Marks shouted. Nyan's forces, bearing 270, golden warriors appeared, teleporting into the street ahead, but these weren't allies. Their armor bore different markings, Nyan's insignia. Traitors, one of them projected at the Selendis zealots. "You ally with the corrupted. You have forsaken the Kala. We have embraced the truth," one of Selendis' warriors replied calmly. "These beings are not Zerg. The purge is unjust." Then you will be purged alongside them. The two groups of Protoss clashed, energy blades meeting energy blades in a shower of sparks and psionic energy. Mitchell and her team took cover, firing at Nion's forces while trying not to hit their Protoss allies. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos. "This is insane," Vala shouted over weapons fire. "We're watching Protoss fight Protoss. They're having a civil war. Focus on the mission," Mitchell ordered. "We need to reach that shelter." They fought their way forward block by block. The Selendi's zealots were incredible warriors, each one worth 10 human soldiers in combat capability. But Nion's forces had numbers, and they fought with the fervor of true believers convinced they were righteous. Finally, they reached the shelter. Mitchell activated the comm system. "This is Colonel Mitchell of Stargate Command. We're evacuating this facility." Everyone moved to the Stargate coordinates we're broadcasting. Families poured out, humans, yes, but also other species. This galaxy was diverse. The Protoss purge hadn't discriminated. "Get them moving," Mitchell ordered. "We'll hold here until..." A massive energy signature appeared overhead, a Protoss carrier, but whose? The ship's weapons powered up, targeting the shelter. Nion's. "Oh no," Daniel whispered. The beam lanced down and was intercepted by a shield projected from another carrier that had just arrived in orbit. Selendis's flagship. "You will not harm these innocents." Selendis's presence projected across the entire battlefield. "Stand down, Nion. This ends now." It ends when the corruption is purged. Nion's carrier opened fire with everything it had. Space above Langara erupted into battle. Two Protoss fleets, once united, now divided, fighting each other while the humans below scrambled for survival. Mitchell watched the orbital battle through her tactical display. "Selendis is buying us time. Let's not waste it. Everyone through the gate, now." Meanwhile, orbit of Langara, the space battle was unlike anything Selendis had experienced in her centuries of warfare. She'd fought the Zerg countless times. She'd battled the corrupted forces of Ammon. She'd defended Aer against impossible odds, but she'd never fought her own people. Never watched Protoss carriers exchange fire with Protoss carriers. Never felt the Kala tremble with the psychic pain of warriors killing their own brothers and sisters. "Nion, please." She projected across all channels. "This is madness. These beings are innocent. We can still stop this before more die. You are the madness, Selendis." Nion's carrier unleashed a barrage of void rays. "You have been corrupted. The Kala has been polluted by human influence. I will cleanse it. The Kala shows me truth. It shows me these beings deserve to live." Then the Kala is corrupted too. The words were heresy, blasphemy of the highest order. The Kala was sacred, the psionic network that bound all Kali Protoss together. To suggest it could be corrupted was to attack the very foundation of their society. Selendis felt other Protoss in the fleet recoil from Nion's words. Even his own supporters hesitated. "You go too far," Nion High Templar Karas projected. "The Kala is beyond corruption. It is eternal, sacred. Your words border on." Energy signatures appeared at the edge of the system. New contacts. Unknown. Both fleets detected them simultaneously. Ships. Massive ships. Not Protoss, not human, something else entirely. They were beautiful in a terrible way, organic-looking hulls that gleamed with golden light but wrong somehow, corrupted, twisted. And from those ships came a voice, not psionic, not electronic, something between. "Hallowed are the Ori." An Ori prior appeared on all communication channels, a staff-wielding figure radiating power that felt uncomfortably similar to Zerg psionic signatures but different, more focused, more divine. "We have sensed your presence, children of the Firstborn. We have seen your war, and we offer you enlightenment. Join us. Embrace origin or be destroyed." Selendis stared at the prior's image, confusion and dread mixing in her consciousness. "What manner of being are you? We are Ori. We are gods. And you will kneel or you will burn. The Ori ships opened fire on both Protoss fleets simultaneously. The beams that struck Selendis' shields were unlike anything she'd encountered. They didn't just damage the shields, they ignored them, passed through as if the physical barriers didn't exist. What her carrier rocked under impact. Hull breaches on 3 decks, systems failing. Nion's fleet fared no better. The Ori weapons treated Protoss shields like they were decorative. Selendis, Nion's projection carried panic, an emotion she'd never heard from him before. What are these beings? Their weapons penetrate our shields as if we are beneath their notice, Selendis finished. These are not beings who claim godhood. They are gods, or something close enough that the distinction doesn't matter. On the planet below, Mitchell watched the battle shift. "Oh no," she whispered. "The Ori found them." The Ori Prior's voice boomed across all channels again. "You war amongst yourselves, you slaughter primitives, you claim righteousness. How pathetic. We shall show you true power, true faith." True, golden light erupted from Langara's surface as another Protoss force teleported in. But these weren't Selendis' warriors or Nion's zealots. These were different. Darker armor, no glowing connections to the Kala, moving with a fluidity that suggested different fighting styles. Dark Templar. Both Selendis and Nion projected simultaneously. "What are you doing here?" A figure stepped forward, taller than even Selendis, armor black as void, eyes glowing with purple energy instead of the Kali blue. "I am Matriarch Vorazun of the Nerazim. And we have been watching your foolish war with concern. Now these Ori have arrived, and you squabble like children while a true threat emerges. You severed from the Kala." Nion projected with disgust. "You have no right to, we have every right. We are Protoss, same as you. And right now, we are the only thing standing between you and annihilation." Vorazun's Dark Templar engaged the Ori forces with weapons and tactics Selendis had never seen. Void powers that didn't rely on the Kala. Shadow strikes that bypass shields. They fought like ghosts, like nightmares, like something out of Protoss mythology, and they were effective. The Ori ships, which had been decimating both Kali fleets, suddenly found themselves facing opponents who could hurt them. "How?" Selendis demanded. "We draw power from the void, not the Kala," Vorazun explained while her forces continued their assault. "The Ori's holy fire affects the Kala directly. That's why it bypasses your shields. But void energy operates on different principles. We are resistant. Then help us." Selendis projected. "Whatever our differences, we face a common enemy." Agreed. "But after this battle, we will discuss your purge, and you will answer for the innocents you have killed." On the ground, Mitchell watched 3 Protoss factions and 1 Ori fleet battle in the skies above. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I think we just made things a lot more complicated." "On the bright side," Daniel replied, "at least everyone's shooting at the Ori now instead of at us." Silver lining. "I like it." The battle raged for hours. When it finally ended, the Ori had retreated, though not before inflicting severe casualties. Nion's fleet had suffered 40% losses. Selendis' fleet had lost 30% of its ships, and the Dark Templar had emerged as the unexpected saviors. In the aftermath, Selendis, Nion, and Vorazun met via holographic projection, 3 Protoss leaders, all standing on opposite sides of philosophy and practice, all facing the same terrible truth: the Ori were a threat to everyone. Kali, Nerazim, human, all of them. "We must work together," Selendis projected. "Our divisions make us weak." "I will never work with one who sides with the corrupted," Nion replied coldly. "Then you are a fool," Vorazun said bluntly. "The Ori care nothing for your purity. They will kill Kali and Nerazim alike. The only question is whether we face them divided and fall, or united and survive." Nion was silent for a long moment. Then, "I will not cease the purge. but I will focus my forces on defending Protoss holdings rather than actively hunting the corrupted. If the Ori are the greater threat, we deal with them first. Then we return to the Purge. It wasn't peace, but it was a ceasefire of sorts. Selendis would take it, agreed. Temporary cooperation against the Ori threat, after which we will settle our differences. After which, Vorazun added, both of you will answer to the Conclave for this catastrophe. But that is a problem for later. The three Protoss leaders disconnected. And for the first time since arriving in the Milky Way, Selendis felt something other than certainty, fear. Not of death, not of defeat, but of what she'd unleashed by bringing her people to this galaxy, and of what would come next. Planet Veta, contested border world. The planet had been beautiful once. Rolling green hills, crystal clear lakes, small farming communities scattered across 2 continents. Now it was a war zone, caught between 3 factions who all claimed different justifications for being there. Nion's Protoss forces occupied the northern continent, continuing their purge of what they believed was Zerg corruption. Human colonists had fled south, defended by a mix of SGC personnel and Selendis' Protoss warriors who'd sworn to protect them. And in orbit, both Protoss fleets maintained an uneasy standoff, neither willing to fire on the other but neither backing down. It was a powder keg waiting for a spark. Colonel Sarah Mitchell stood in the makeshift command center, a repurposed barn that now housed tactical displays and communication equipment, watching the situation deteriorate in real time. Nion's forces are advancing on Settlement 7, Lieutenant Marks reported. 3,000 civilians trapped. They're requesting immediate evacuation. How long until the Daedalus can get there? Mitchell asked. 40 minutes, but Nion's zealots will reach them in 20. Damn it. Mitchell activated her comm. Selendis, are you seeing this? The Protoss executor's presence touched her mind. Mitchell was getting used to the psionic communication, though it still felt alien. I am. My forces are moving to intercept. But Colonel, my warriors will not fire upon their Kali brothers unless absolutely necessary. Even if those brothers are about to slaughter 3,000 innocents, even then, the schism is already deep enough. I will not make it worse by spilling Protoss blood. Then what do you suggest? I will attempt to reason with Nion's commanders, appeal to their honor, perhaps the sky lit up, not with weapons fire, with something else. Something that made every tactical display in the command center go haywire. What the hell is that? Marks shouted. Through the barn's windows, Mitchell saw ships emerging from nowhere. Not hyperspace, not warp, not even the subspace rifts the Protoss used. These ships simply appeared as if they'd been there all along and reality had just noticed. They were beautiful and terrible, golden-hulled, organic-looking with designs that seemed to shift and flow like living metal, and radiating from them, power, pure, overwhelming power that made the air itself feel heavy. New contacts, the tactical officer reported. 8 capital ships. Configuration unknown. They're not Protoss, not human, not. A voice boomed across every communication channel, not transmitted electronically, imposed directly into the minds of everyone on the planet. Hallowed are the Ori. Mitchell felt ice form in her stomach. No, not here. Not now. A holographic image appeared in the command center, an Ori prior, staff in hand, eyes glowing with false divine power. We have sensed great conflict in this place, the prior intoned. We have felt the clash of false believers and misguided zealots, and we offer you all salvation. Embrace origin, accept the Ori as your gods, or face the consequences of heresy. Like hell, Mitchell muttered, reaching for her weapon. The prior's eyes focused on her, impossible since he was a hologram, but she felt his attention like a physical weight. You, Tori. You have already rejected our blessing once. You will not be given a third chance. And you, the prior's gaze shifted, somehow looking toward orbit. Children of the firstborn, you who were created by beings nearly as old as the Ori themselves, you interest us. Join us. Combine your strength with ours. Together we shall ascend. Never. Selendis' mental projection carried absolute conviction. You are false gods. We have fought false gods before. We will not kneel to you. Then you will burn. The Ori ships opened fire. Orbit of Veta, the beams that lanced from the Ori motherships, were unlike anything the Protoss had encountered. Selendis watched from her carrier's bridge as the golden energy struck her shields, and passed through them as if they didn't exist. The beams struck hull plating directly, vaporizing sections of her ship. She couldn't even finish the thought before her ship rocked under another impact. Shields are ineffective, one of her phase smiths reported via the Kala. The Ori weapons bypass our psionic barriers. They target the material directly as if the shields are not present. How is this possible? They are using a form of energy we have never encountered, High Templar Karas projected from his battle position. Not physical, not psionic, something divine, impossible, yet here it is. Across the orbital space, Nion's fleet was suffering the same fate. Protoss carriers, vessels that had withstood Zerg swarm attacks, that had fought through impossible odds, were being torn apart by weapons that simply ignored their defenses. Selendis. Nion's presence burst through the Kala, panic evident despite his attempts to control it. What manner of beings are these? How do we fight enemies who bypass our shields? Before Selendis could respond, another presence entered the orbital battle. Ships appearing via teleportation, but not golden Kali vessels. These were darker, sleeker, moving with a fluid grace that spoke of different philosophies. Dark Templar, Matriarch Vorazun, Selendis projected in surprise. What are you doing here? The Dark Templar leader's presence was different from Kali, harder to sense, more shadowy, but no less powerful. Saving your hides, Executor. The Nerazim have been monitoring this foolish conflict from the shadows, and when these Ori arrived, we decided intervention was necessary. Vorazun's ships engaged the Ori fleet with weapons that looked wrong to Kali eyes. Void energy, dark, pulsing, hungry, the antithesis of the Kala's light, and incredibly, those weapons were effective. The Ori beams that had passed through Kali's shields struck void barriers and stopped. Not completely, the Dark Templar ships still took damage, but they weren't being one-shot killed like the Kali vessels. How? Both Selendis and Nion demanded simultaneously. The Ori's holy fire targets the Kala directly, Vorazun explained, her ships weaving through the Ori formation with deadly grace. It recognizes psionic energy connected to the Kala and bypasses defenses attuned to it. But we Nerazim severed from the Kala millennia ago. We draw power from the void, a different source entirely. Their weapons are less effective against us. Then you must lead the defense. Selendis said immediately. Pride means nothing if we all die. Agreed, Nion added, his presence carrying reluctance but also pragmatism. Nerazim, we put aside our differences. For now. How magnanimous, Vorazun replied dryly. Very well, all Protoss forces follow my lead. Kali vessels provide supporting fire and shield coverage for ground forces. Nerazim will engage the Ori directly. Surface of Veta, Settlement 7. The battle in orbit was distant thunder. Down here, the war was immediate and personal. Ori soldiers teleported into Settlement 7, human warriors enhanced by Ori technology, fanatical believers willing to die for their false gods. They attacked with energy staffs and absolute conviction, trying to convert or kill everyone they encountered. But they ran into something unexpected, a combined defense force of human marines, Jaffa warriors, and Kali Protoss zealots. 3 species, 3 philosophies, 1 desperate last stand. Mitchell led her team through the settlement's main street, firing at Ori soldiers while trying to coordinate the evacuation. All civilians to the Stargate. Move, move. Beside her, Teal'c fought with his staff weapon, each shot precise and deadly. Colonel Mitchell. Ori reinforcements are materializing on the northern perimeter. I see them. Can we? A golden flash. Protoss zealots from Selendis' fleet teleported in, their energy blades already ignited. We will hold this line, one of them projected. Protect the innocents. That is what honor demands. Works for me, Mitchell replied. Everyone fall back to secondary positions. Let the Protoss hold the front. It was surreal, fighting alongside beings who'd been trying to kill her 2 weeks ago. But the Ori didn't care about that history. They attacked Protoss and humans with equal fervor, and that shared threat created instant cooperation. An Ori prior teleported into the center of the settlement, staff raised, power radiating from him in visible waves. Your resistance is futile, he declared, his voice amplified to impossible volumes. The Ori are infinite, we are eternal, we are. A dark Templar appeared behind him, blades of void energy already in motion. The prior's head hit the ground before his body registered what had happened. Talk less, the Dark Templar projected coldly. Die more. More Dark Templar materialized, engaging Ori soldiers with brutal efficiency. Their fighting style was completely different from the Kali zealots, less honorable dueling, more pragmatic assassination. They struck from shadows, phased in and out of visibility, killed with ruthless precision. Mitchell found herself fighting back-to-back with both a Kali zealot and a Dark Templar, 3 warriors from 3 completely different backgrounds, united by necessity. This is insane, she shouted over the weapon's fire. Insanity is refusing to adapt, the Dark Templar replied. The Ori are a threat to all. Therefore, all must stand against them. I can work with that philosophy. The battle raged for 2 hours. By the end, the settlement was in ruins, but the civilians had been evacuated. The Ori forces had been repelled. And standing among the wreckage, Protoss Kali, Protoss Nerazim, humans and Jaffa, all breathing hard, all wounded, all alive. Mitchell looked at the Kali zealot who'd fought beside her. You saved my life 3 times during that fight. You saved mine twice. We are even. Yeah, even. She extended her hand again, that human gesture of trust. The zealot stared at it for a moment. Then carefully mimicked the gesture, grasping her hand with his armored appendage. It felt absurdly important. A small moment of connection in the aftermath of chaos. Orbit of Veta. 3 hours later, the Ori had retreated, but not before inflicting severe casualties. 2 of Selendis' carriers destroyed, 4 of Nion's. Even the Dark Templar had lost one of their void rays. The 3 Protoss leaders met via holographic projection aboard Selendis' flagship, Executor Selendis of the Kali moderate faction, Executor Nion of the Kali extremists, and Matriarch Vorazun of the Nerazim. It was the first time in decades that Kali and Nerazim leadership had spoken directly. The Ori are a greater threat than we anticipated, Selendis began. Their weapons bypass our defenses. Their faith grants them power we do not understand. If we face them divided, we will fall. Agreed, Vorazun said. But before we discuss alliance, we must address the atrocity you have committed in this galaxy. Millions dead, worlds purged, all because of mistaken sensor readings. How do you answer for this, Selendis? Selendis' presence carried shame that rippled through the Kala. I cannot. There is no answer that justifies what we have done. We believed we were preventing another Aer. Instead, we became the monsters we feared. And you, Nion. Vorazun's attention shifted. You continue the purge even knowing these beings are innocent. How do you justify that? I do not need to justify myself to Nerazim, Nion replied coldly. You severed from the Kala. You have no right to judge those who remain connected. We severed because the Kala can be manipulated, corrupted, and your actions prove we were right to do so. Enough. Selendis's projection flared with authority. This bickering serves no purpose. The Ori care nothing for our philosophical differences. They will kill Kali and Nerazim alike. Can we not put aside ancient grudges to face a common enemy? Silence in the psychic space. Then Nyan, very well. I propose a temporary alliance. Kali and Nerazim forces will cooperate against the Ori threat. Once the Ori are dealt with, we return to our separate paths. What of the purge? Vorazun demanded. What of the innocent beings you continue to slaughter? I will. Redirect my forces, Nyan said, each word clearly painful for him. Focus on defending Protoss holdings rather than actively hunting the corrupted. If the Ori are indeed the greater threat, we address them first. After which you return to genocide, Vorazun finished. How noble. It is more than you deserve, Nyan snapped. It is barely acceptable, Vorazun countered, but it will suffice. For now. Then we have agreement, Selendis said. Temporary alliance against the Ori. Kali moderate forces, Kali extremist forces, and Nerazim forces, all working together. The humans will want to be part of this alliance as well, Vorazun noted. They fought well today, for primitives. They are not primitives, Selendis said firmly. They are warriors, honorable, brave, worthy of respect. You have changed, Selendis, Vorazun observed. The executor I knew would never have praised lesser races so highly. I was wrong about many things. I am learning to be better. Good. Because if we are to survive what comes next, we will all need to be better than we have been. The three leaders disconnected, each returning to their respective fleets. And for the first time since the Protoss arrived in the Milky Way, there was hope that this war might end without total annihilation. But Mitchell, watching from the planet's surface as the three Protoss fleets formed up together, knew the truth. The real war was just beginning. Earth, Stargate Command. 3 days after the Battle of Veta, the briefing room had been expanded to accommodate the unusual diplomatic meeting. On one side of the table, General Landry, Colonel Mitchell, Dr. Daniel Jackson, Teal'c, and representatives from the IOA. On the other side, holographic projections of Executor Selendis, High Templar Karras, and 2 other Kali Protoss commanders. And standing somewhat apart, as if emphasizing their independence, Matriarch Vorazun and a Dark Templar named Zeratul, whose presence felt like shadows even through the hologram. It was the first formal diplomatic contact between Earth and the Protoss. And the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. General Landry opened. Let's start with the obvious. Your people have killed approximately 7 million humans and Jaffa across 12 worlds. You've destroyed infrastructure worth trillions. You've created a humanitarian crisis that will take decades to resolve. So my first question is simple. Why should we not treat you as hostile invaders and respond accordingly? Selendis's hologram was silent for a moment. Then, because we were wrong, catastrophically, unforgivably wrong. We came to your galaxy believing we were preventing a Zerg apocalypse. Our sensors detected genetic markers that matched Zerg corruption. We acted to save this galaxy from the fate that befell ours. And when you discovered your mistake, Landry pressed, I called for immediate ceasefire. I released prisoners. I turned my forces against those who would continue the purge. What more would you have me do, General? Reparations, said one of the IOA representatives. Technology transfers, assistance in rebuilding, and war crimes trials for those responsible. War crimes trials. Selendis's presence carried confusion. I do not understand this concept. It means you'd stand trial for the deaths you caused, Mitchell explained. Face judgment from the families of those you killed. Accept punishment if found guilty. I accept responsibility for all deaths. I commanded the fleet. The guilt is mine alone. If you require my execution to achieve justice, I will submit to it. The room went silent. You'd let us execute you? Landry asked, surprised. If that is what honor demands, I cannot undo the deaths I have caused. But I can ensure they are not forgotten, that I am held accountable. That's very, Daniel searched for words, honorable, but maybe we should focus on preventing future deaths rather than punishing past ones. A wise perspective, Vorazun interjected. Selendes made grave errors, yes. But she also stopped the moment she learned the truth. That shows integrity. Nyan, by contrast, continues to view you as acceptable casualties. That is who you should fear. Speaking of Nyan, Landry said, what's his current status? Executor Nyan commands 60% of the original invasion fleet, Karas reported. He has agreed to a temporary ceasefire, redirecting his forces to defend Protoss holdings rather than actively purging human worlds. But he views this as tactical necessity, not moral imperative. When the Ori are dealt with, he will likely resume attacks. Then we have a problem, Landry said. We can't accept a partial peace. Either all Protoss forces stand down or we remain at war. I cannot control Nyan, Selendes admitted. He views me as corrupted. He believes the Khala itself has been polluted by human influence. We are not simply divided by strategy, we are divided by fundamental philosophy. Then help us stop him, Mitchell said. Intelligence, tactical data, advanced warning of attacks. Anything you can give us to protect innocent lives. I have been doing so already, and I will continue. But know this, if you force me to choose between humans and Protoss, I will choose my people, always. Fair enough, Mitchell replied. We do the same. But right now, we have a bigger problem than Nyan. She activated a holographic display showing Ori ship movements. The Ori are probing our defenses across 17 systems. They're not launching full-scale attacks yet, they're testing us, learning our capabilities. And when they've learned enough, they'll hit us with everything they have. The Ori are formidable, Vorazun agreed. Their ability to bypass Kali shields makes them nearly unstoppable against traditional Protoss tactics. Only Nere's void powers prove effective. So we need to understand their weaknesses, Daniel said. Their technology, their religion, everything, which means we need to share information. Agreed, Selendes said. I propose formal intelligence sharing. The Tori provide data on the Ori, their capabilities, their religion, their weaknesses. We provide data on Protoss technology, tactics, and our experiences fighting false gods in our own galaxy. You fought beings like the Ori before, Landry asked. We fought a corrupted Xel'Naga named Ammon who claimed godhood. He nearly destroyed our entire species. We learned hard lessons from that war, lessons that might help against the Ori. Then let's hear them. For the next 3 hours, the meeting became less confrontational and more collaborative. The Protoss explained their history with Ammon, how he'd corrupted the Khala, how he'd created hybrid creatures, how only the combined strength of Kali and Nereism had defeated him. The humans explained the Ori, ascended beings who fed on worship, who granted real power to their followers, who viewed all non-believers as heretics to be converted or destroyed. And slowly patterns emerged. The Ori and Ammon are similar, Daniel observed. Both claim divinity, both demand worship. Both grant real power to their followers. What if they are related somehow? Impossible, Vorazun said. Ammon was confined to the Koprulu sector. He could not have reached this galaxy. But what if the Xel'Naga had contact with the ancients? Daniel persisted. Both species were incredibly advanced. Both seeded life across galaxies. What if there's a connection we haven't seen? An intriguing theory, Karas admitted. If true, it would explain why the Ori's power feels familiar to us, why their weapons target the Khala specifically. We need more information, Landry decided. Which means we need to capture an Ori prior alive, question them, learn about their connection to these Xel'Naga. That's easier said than done, Mitchell pointed out. Priors are incredibly powerful, teleportation, energy manipulation, Mind control, we've tried capturing them before. It doesn't go well. Perhaps a combined operation. Selendes suggested. Protoss and human forces working together. We provide psionic dampening to counter the Prior's powers. You provide tactical flexibility and adaptability. You'd trust us with a joint operation? Landry asked skeptically. Trust must begin somewhere, General. Let it begin here. The discussion continued. As the formal meeting ended, smaller conversations began. Daniel approached Selendes' hologram with academic curiosity. Can I ask about the Kala, the psionic network you mentioned? How does it work? Selendes seemed pleased by the interest. The Kala is the sacred bond that connects all Kali Protoss. We share thoughts, emotions, experiences. It allows perfect coordination in battle, instant communication across vast distances, and a sense of unity that transcends individual existence. Sounds like a hive mind, Daniel observed. It is not. Selendes' presence flared with indignation. A hive mind suppresses individuality. The Kala enhances it. We remain ourselves, distinct, conscious, free, while also being part of something greater. But you can't hide thoughts from each other. We can learn to shield our deeper thoughts. But yes, the Kala creates transparency. It makes deception nearly impossible among connected Protoss. And the Dark Templar rejected this. Vorazun's hologram interjected. We severed from the Kala because we valued privacy over unity. The ability to think thoughts no one else can hear. To make choices without the collective's input. The Kala is beautiful, yes, but it is also a chain. It is not a chain. Selendes protested. It is a gift. A blessing from Kaz himself. Agree to disagree, Vorazun replied calmly. We have fought this argument for millennia. We are not resolving it today. Daniel watched the exchange with fascination. You know, humans have debated similar questions. Individual freedom versus collective good. Privacy versus transparency. We've never found perfect answers either. Perhaps there are no perfect answers, Kara suggested. Perhaps the struggle itself is what defines us. Meanwhile, Mitchell spoke quietly with Teal'c in the corner. What do you think? She asked. Can we trust them? I have fought alongside Selendes' warriors, Teal'c replied. I have seen them choose to protect innocence over following orders. I have seen Protoss defy their own executor out of conscience. They are not so different from Jaffa who rebelled against false gods. That's not an answer. It is the only answer I have. Trust must be earned, Colonel Mitchell, but it must also be offered. Give Selendes the chance to prove herself. If she betrays that trust, we respond accordingly, but if she honors it, we may gain allies more valuable than we realize. Mitchell nodded slowly. You're right, we take the chance, work with them, and hope it doesn't blow up in our faces. Hope is not a strategy. But sometimes it is all we have. Suddenly alarms blared throughout Stargate Command. General, Sergeant Harriman's voice carried panic. We're detecting energy signatures in the gate room. Someone's dialing in without authorization. Close the iris, Landry ordered. Can't, sir, the codes are locked. We're being overridden, the Stargate activated, the wormhole establishing, and through it came Protoss, but not Selendes' forces. These wore different armor, darker, more angular, bearing symbols that made Selendes' holographic form go rigid with shock. Taldarim, she projected with horror. How are they here? They should not know about this galaxy. The Taldarim warriors, 6 of them, marched into the gate room with weapons drawn, and leading them, an imposing figure in blood-red armor, eyes glowing with power that felt wrong, corrupted. I am Alaric, the figure projected, his mental voice dripping with contempt. First ascendant of the Taldarim, and I bring a message from the Master, Ammon lives. He knows of this galaxy, and he is coming. Then, before anyone could respond, golden energy erupted from behind the Taldarim. Not Protoss energy, Ori energy. An Ori prior stepped through the Stargate, staff raised. Hallowed are the Ori, the prior intoned, and blessed are those who serve the darkness. Alaric, you have done well, your master will be pleased. Nyan, Selendes projected desperately across all channels. The Taldarim are here. Ammon's forces have found this galaxy, and they are allied with the Ori. In the briefing room, Protoss and humans stared at each other in mutual horror. The Ori and Ammon, two false gods from two different galaxies, had found each other, and they were working together. Stargate Command, Gate Room. 60 seconds after Taldarim arrival, the situation devolved into chaos instantly. Alaric and his Taldarim warriors stood in defensive formation around the Stargate, energy blades ignited. The Ori prior radiated power, his staff glowing with false divine energy. And between them and the exit, 24 Starfleet security personnel with weapons drawn, hopelessly outmatched. All personnel fall back, General Landry's voice echoed through the compound. Seal the blast doors. Nobody goes in or out, but it was already too late. Alaric raised one hand. An invisible psionic force slammed the blast doors open as if they were made of paper. Taldarim warriors charged through, killing anyone who tried to stop them. They're headed for the briefing room, someone shouted. They're going after the Protoss holograms. In the briefing room, Selendes' holographic form flickered with agitation. We must disconnect. If the Taldarim triangulate our transmission source, they will find my fleet. Too late for that, Mitchell said, checking her P90. They're coming here. Which means we hold this room until reinforcements arrive. You cannot fight Taldarim. Selendes projected desperately. They are elite warriors, fanatics devoted to Ammon. They will slaughter you. Then come help us, Mitchell replied. You're the ones with teleportation, right? Get your people here. The coordinates are 30 light years from my position. Even our fastest warp would take. Then we buy you time. Daniel, Teal'c, defensive positions. Vala, get those diplomats out of here. The briefing room doors exploded inward. Alaric strode through, his crimson armor gleaming, psionic energy crackling around him like lightning. Behind him, Taldarim warriors and the Ori prior, who seemed amused by the humans' attempts at resistance. Selendes, Alaric projected, his mental voice carrying mocking superiority. How the mighty have fallen, reduced to begging primitives for assistance. Ammon will be so disappointed in you. Ammon is dead. Selendes' hologram replied, we destroyed him. He cannot what? Return from death. Alaric laughed, not sound, but a psionic presence that felt like nails on a chalkboard. You destroyed his physical form, yes, but his essence survived. And the Ori, these magnificent false gods you humans fear so much, they have offered him resurrection. A new body, new power, new purpose. The Ori prior stepped forward. The Ori see potential in Ammon, a being of great power, unjustly defeated. We offer him ascension, not as he was, but as something greater, and in return he offers us his knowledge, his Protoss. His hybrids, Daniel asked, still pointing his weapon at the intruders. What are hybrids, abominations? Selendes projected with revulsion. Ammon's creations. Beings that merge Protoss and Zerg genetics into something that should not exist. We thought we destroyed them all. If Ammon is creating more, not creating, Alaric corrected, perfecting. The hybrids you fought were flawed, mindless, powerful but uncontrolled. But with Ori technology, with their understanding of ascension, imagine hybrids that retain intelligence, that can wield both Protoss psionic powers and Zerg adaptive evolution, that combine the strength of both species with the blessing of false gods. That is nightmare-made flesh, Vorazun's hologram said quietly. Agreed, Mitchell said. So we stop it, right here, right now. She opened fire. Her P90 rounds sparked harmlessly off Alaric's psionic shields. Alaric didn't even flinch. Pathetic. You cannot harm me, human. You cannot. Teal'c's staff weapon blast hit him square in the chest. The psionic shield held, but Alaric staggered. Impressive for primitives. He raised his hand, and Teal'c was lifted off his feet by invisible force, slammed into the wall hard enough to crack concrete. Teal'c! Mitchell charged forward, firing continuously. The Taldarim warriors engaged, their blades cutting through furniture and equipment with ease. Mitchell dove behind an overturned table, reloading, trying to think of anything that might work against enemies who could shrug off bullets and throw people with their minds. Then, golden light flooded the room, not Taldarim teleportation. Kali. Selendis materialized, not holographic but physically present, along with a dozen of her zealots, and behind them, appearing from shadows rather than light, Dark Templar led by Vorazun herself. Selendis had come, in person, risking her own life to honor the alliance they'd just forged. Alaric. Selendis projected with fury. You dare attack our allies. You dare invoke Ammon's name in my presence. I dare more than that, Executor. Alaric's psionic presence radiated contempt. I claim this world for Ammon. I claim these primitives as his tribute. And I claim your life as payment for your betrayal. The two Protoss leaders charged each other. What followed was a battle unlike anything the humans had ever witnessed. Energy blades clashing with sparks of psionic energy. Telekinetic forces throwing furniture and equipment. Psionic lightning arcing between combatants. Alaric and Selendis fought with centuries of skill, each strike calculated, each movement precise. The Taldarim warriors engaged Selendis' zealots in honorable combat, blade against blade, warrior against warrior. But the Dark Templar fought with no honor at all, striking from shadows, assassinating Taldarim before they could react, using void powers that made even Alaric pause. And in the middle of it all, Mitchell and her team trying desperately to help without getting killed by psionic crossfire. We need to take down that prior, Daniel shouted. He's providing power to the Taldarim, amplifying them. How do you know that? It's what priors do. They channel Ori power to their followers, cut him off, and a void blade erupted from the prior's chest. Vorazun stood behind him, her dark energy weapons already withdrawing. You talk too much, false god. Die quietly. The prior collapsed, and immediately the Taldarim warriors weakened. Their shields flickered. Their movements slowed. No. Alaric disengaged from Selendis long enough to see his support failing. Retreat. All forces, retreat to the Stargate. The Taldarim pulled back in perfect coordination, fighting their way to the gate room. Alaric was the last to leave, pausing at the threshold to project one final message. This changes nothing, Selendis. Ammon rises. The Ori and Taldarim are allied, and you have chosen the wrong side. When the Master returns, he will remember your betrayal, and you will suffer for eternity. Then he vanished through the Stargate. Silence fell over the devastated briefing room. Mitchell looked around at the damage. Walls cracked, furniture destroyed, scorch marks everywhere. 3 human security personnel dead. 2 of Selendis' zealots badly wounded. 1 Dark Templar unaccounted for. And Selendis herself standing in the center of the wreckage, her armor scored and damaged from the fight with Alaric. You came, Mitchell said quietly. You were 30 light years away, but you came anyway. You are my allies, Selendis replied simply. When allies call for aid, we answer. That is what honor demands. Mitchell extended her hand again, that human gesture of trust and respect. This time, Selendis took it without hesitation. Thank you, Mitchell said. You saved our lives, and you have given me purpose beyond guilt. For the first time since learning of my error, I feel I am doing something right, something that matters. Vorazun approached, wiping void energy from her blades. That was well fought, Selendis. Perhaps there is hope for you, Kali, after all. From you, Vorazun, that is high praise indeed. General Landry entered the room, surveying the damage. Well, that was exciting. Someone want to explain what just happened? The Ori and Ammon have formed an alliance, Daniel said. They're planning to resurrect Ammon using Ori Ascension technology. And they're creating hybrids, Proto-Zerg fusion creatures enhanced with Ori powers. That's bad. Catastrophically bad, Daniel agreed. Then we need to stop it, Landry decided. Which means we need a formal alliance, not just cooperation. A real, binding agreement between Earth, the Protoss Daylom, and anyone else willing to stand against this threat. I am prepared to sign such an agreement, Selendi said. My forces, my technology, my life, all are pledged to this cause, as are the Nerazim, Vorazun added. But Selendis, you realize what this means. You are formally allying with lesser races, offering them Protoss secrets, treating them as equals. The Conclave will not approve. Then the Conclave can be overruled, Selendis replied firmly. I am executor. I make tactical decisions in the field. And my decision is this: we stand with the Tory against Ammon and the Ori, whatever the cost. Mitchell felt something shift in that moment, not just a military alliance, something deeper, a bond forged in shared combat, tempered by mutual sacrifice. They'd been enemies 2 weeks ago. Now they were willing to die for each other. We'll need to inform Nyan, Landry said. The Taldarim attack affects all Protoss forces, not just yours. I will contact him, Selendi said, though I doubt he will. Another alarm, more urgent. Sir, Sergeant Harriman's voice. We're detecting multiple Ori ships entering the solar system. They're heading directly for Earth. How many? Landry demanded. 20 motherships, sir. And they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Surrender or face annihilation. Can we fight them? Colonel Carter's voice came over the comm. Sir, the Daedalus and Odyssey are in orbit. We have maybe a dozen Haddock vessels from the Free Jaffa. Against 20 Ori motherships. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Selendis turned to Vorazun. Can you contact your fleet? How fast can the Nerazim arrive? 3 hours at best. Not fast enough. Then we fight with what we have. Selendis activated her psionic communications. All Daylom vessels, emergency protocol. Jump to Earth coordinates immediately. We defend our allies. Selendis, Mitchell said. Your fleet is damaged from the earlier battle. You be throwing yourselves into a meat grinder. We swore an oath, Colonel. We stand with you, no matter the odds. Mitchell felt her throat tighten. Then let's make those Ori bastards regret coming here. General, permission to take the fight to them. Landry looked at his officers, his allies, the Protoss who'd been enemies and were now brothers in arms. Permission granted. Defend Earth. All forces, engage the enemy. Earth orbit 30 minutes later, the fleet was hopelessly outnumbered. 12 BC 304s and Haddock vessels. 8 Protoss carriers, Selendis' remaining forces, against 20 Ori motherships. But they fought anyway. The BC 304s used Asgard beam weapons to target Ori shield generators. The Haddock vessels fired plasma cannons in coordinated volleys, and the Protoss carriers were magnificent. They moved like dancers, teleporting across space, void rays lancing out to strike Ori weak points. Their fighters swarmed Ori vessels like angry wasps. And their psionic presence in Mitchell's mind, she was aboard the Daedalus coordinating the defense, felt like courage made manifest. Hold the line. Selendis' projection echoed across all allied ships, for Aer, for Earth, for all worlds that stand against false gods. She's good at speeches, Colonel Caldwell muttered from the Daedalus' command chair. She's had centuries of practice, Mitchell replied. All ships focus fire on the lead mothership. If we can take down their flagship, maybe. The Ori mothership's hull cracked. Atmosphere vented. It began to list, dying. We got one, someone cheered. Then another Ori mothership fired its main weapon, that terrible golden beam that could vaporize planets. It struck the Haddock vessel crash. The ship simply ceased to exist. 2,000 Jaffa warriors gone in an instant. We cannot win this, High Templar Karras projected from his carrier. Selendes, we must retreat, regroup, fight another day. No, we hold. If we all die here, who will stop Ammon? Selendes was silent because Karras was right. This was a suicide stand, honorable but pointless. Then the stars changed. 60 new contacts emerged from hyperspace. Massive ships, Protoss ships, but not Kali Gold, not Nerazim Shadow. These ships were dark red, angular, bearing symbols that made Selendes' presence flare with shock. Nyan. Executor Nyan's fleet, 60% of the original Protoss invasion force, had arrived, and they were opening fire on the Ori. You are a fool, Selendes, Nyan projected across all channels, allying with primitives, abandoning the purge, disgrace upon disgrace, but you are still Protoss. And I will not let Protoss die while I have the strength to prevent it. Nyan, you came. Do not mistake this for forgiveness. When the Ori are dealt with, we will settle our differences. But today we fight together, for Ayer, for the Kala, Intaro Tassadar, Intaro Tassadar. Selendes' forces echoed. The combined Protoss fleet struck the Ori formation like a hammer, carriers on all sides, void rays and photon cannons tearing into Ori shields. Even the Ori, with all their power, all their false divinity, couldn't stand against the full might of the reunited Protoss. One Ori mothership fell, then another, then 3 more simultaneously. They're retreating, Carter reported in disbelief. The Ori are actually retreating, and they were. The remaining Ori vessels jumped to hyperspace, fleeing before the Protoss onslaught. Earth was saved. The fleet hung in orbit, damaged but victorious, as the adrenaline of battle gave way to exhausted relief. Selendes opened a channel to Nyan's flagship. Thank you. I know those words mean little coming from one you view as corrupted, but thank you. Do not misunderstand, Nyan replied coldly. I came to save Protoss, not humans. Your allies simply benefited from proximity. This changes nothing between us. It changes everything, Selendes replied gently. You say you came to save Protoss, but in doing so, you saved millions of humans. You allied with the very beings you call corrupted. You proved that cooperation is possible, whether you admit it or not, Nyan. You took the first step toward what? Toward understanding that the purge was wrong, that these beings deserve to live, that honor requires us to stand with them, not against them. Nyan's presence was silent for a long moment. Then, perhaps, but today is not the day for such admissions. Today we fought together because the alternative was death. Tomorrow we will see if that cooperation can last. The channel closed. But Mitchell, watching from the Daedalus, allowed herself a small smile, because tomorrow was better than nothing. Tomorrow meant hope, and hope, she was learning, was sometimes all you needed. Planet Dakara, sacred Jaffa world, 2 weeks after the Battle of Earth. The ancient temple of the ancients stood at the center of Dakara's largest continent, a massive pyramid that predated the gold by millennia. It had been here when the ancients seeded life across the galaxy. It remained after they ascended. And it would stand long after all current civilizations had passed, but today it was a battlefield. Report, Mitchell shouted over the sound of weapons fire. Ori forces advancing on all fronts, Lieutenant Marks replied, his voice tight with stress. They've got the west entrance. The south is holding but barely, and there's something else, some kind of energy buildup in the temple itself. Protoss or Ori, can't tell. Sensors are going haywire, Mitchell cursed. The battle for Dakara had been raging for 3 days. The Ori wanted the ancient temple. Something about its ability to transmit across the galaxy made it strategically vital. Nyan's extremist Protoss wanted it too, believing it could be used to purge corruption on a galactic scale. And the Alliance, Selendes' Protoss, the Tori, and the Free Jaffa, was trying to keep it out of everyone's hands. It was chaos. In orbit, the space battle was equally desperate. 20 Ori motherships, 15 of Nion's carriers, Selendis' 8 remaining ships. The Nerazim fleet finally arrived, and a scattered collection of human and Jaffa vessels, all fighting for control of the system. Colonel Mitchell, Selendis' presence touched her mind. My forces cannot hold the north entrance much longer. Nion's zealots are breaking through, and behind them come Ori priors. We need reinforcements immediately. I don't have reinforcements. Everyone's committed. Then we improvise. Vorazun, can your Dark Templar flank the Ori position? Already moving, Vorazun's mental presence replied. But Selendis, you realize if we succeed here, if we drive off both the Ori and Nion's forces, he will never forgive you. The schism will become permanent. I know, but this temple is too dangerous to leave in extremist hands. We do what we must. Mitchell fought her way through the temple's outer chambers, SG-1 at her back. They'd been fighting continuously for 18 hours. Ammunition was running low, casualties were mounting, and still the enemy kept coming. Then Teal'c grabbed her arm. Colonel. Listen, she heard it, a sound like thunder but rhythmic, coordinated, coming from above. The ceiling exploded, but not from weapons fire, from teleportation. Hundreds of simultaneous teleportation events. Protoss warriors materialized throughout the temple, but these weren't Kali zealots or Nerazim assassins. These were different, glowing with energy, moving with perfect synchronization. Their armor was crystalline, their forms almost ethereal, purifiers, Selendis projected in shock. How a massive holographic figure appeared, towering over the battlefield. A Protoss, but made of light and data rather than flesh. I am Phoenix, the figure declared. Purifier protocol activated. Ancient temple defense subroutine engaged. All hostile forces will be purged. Oh no, Daniel breathed. Phoenix is an AI. The Purifiers are Protoss artificial intelligence warriors. The Purifiers opened fire on everything. Ori soldiers, Nion's zealots, even Selendis' forces and human troops. Stand down. Selendis commanded. Phoenix, these are allies. Negative. Protocols identify all biological entities as potential threats. Temple must be protected. Purge will continue. Can you override them? Mitchell shouted to Selendis. I am trying, but the Purifiers were created centuries ago. Their command codes are ancient. An Ori prior stepped into the temple's central chamber, staff raised. Enough. I will end this pathetic resistance. He spoke words in ancient, the language of the Alterans, distorted and corrupted. The temple began to glow, responding to his commands. He's activating the weapon, Daniel shouted. If he succeeds, every being in the galaxy could be affected. The ancients designed this to reset all life. Then we stop him. Vorazun appeared from shadows behind the prior, void blades already swinging. But the prior was ready. He caught her blade with his staff, golden energy clashing with void power. You cannot kill me, shadow creature. I am blessed by the Ori. I am eternal. No one is eternal, Mitchell said, appearing from the other side and firing her Zat gun directly into the prior's face. The electrical discharge disrupted his concentration. Vorazun's blade struck home. The prior fell, but the temple continued to glow. The weapon was already activated. How do we shut it down? Mitchell demanded. I don't know. Daniel was frantically examining ancient control crystals. This technology is beyond anything we've. I know this system, Phoenix's hologram declared. Purifier databanks contain ancient temple schematics. I can deactivate the weapon, but doing so will require shutting down all Purifier units permanently. Do it, Selendis ordered. The Purifiers are too dangerous to remain active. Acknowledged. Executing shutdown protocol. Phoenix, signing off. The Purifier warriors across the battlefield simply stopped, froze in place, and then one by one dematerialized. The temple's glow faded. The weapon was offline. We did it, Mitchell breathed. An explosion rocked the temple, not from inside, from orbit. Selendes, Nion's presence burst across all channels. You have gone too far, you ally with primitives. You destroy purifier units that could have won this war. You have forsaken everything the Protoss stand for. I have forsaken nothing. Selendes replied, I uphold honor. I protect the innocent. I stand against false gods. That is what Protoss truly stand for. Then you are no longer Protoss. You are corrupted, tainted, unworthy. In orbit, Nion's fleet turned their weapons on Selendes' carriers. Oh my God, Carter's voice came over the comm from the Odyssey. They're firing on each other. The Protoss are having a full civil war. All forces, defend yourselves. Selendes commanded. I will not strike first against my brothers, but I will not die without fighting back. The space battle devolved into three-way chaos. Ori forces trying to regroup. Selendes' fleet defending against Nion's assault. And the human Jaffa coalition trying desperately to support their Protoss allies while not getting caught in the crossfire. We need to end this, Landry's voice came through. All ships target the Ori motherships, force them to retreat. Then we can deal with the Protoss civil war. It was a desperate plan, but it was the only one they had. The combined fleet focused all firepower on the Ori vessels, Asgard beams, Protoss void rays, Jaffa plasma cannons, everything at once. An Ori mothership exploded, then another. The remaining Ori forces, seeing the futility of fighting three factions simultaneously, jumped to hyperspace, which left only the Protoss civil war. Selendes and Nion's fleets circled each other like ancient predators, neither wanting to strike the killing blow but neither willing to back down. Then Vorazun's fleet positioned itself between them. Enough, the matriarch projected with absolute authority. You squabble like children while the true enemy escapes, the Ori flee, Ammon prepares his return, and you waste Protoss blood on internal conflict. This is the conflict, Nion replied. Selendes has betrayed our purpose. She must be stopped. And who decides what our purpose is? Vorazun demanded, you. The conclave that exiled my people for thinking differently. Perhaps it is time for new purposes, new understandings, heresy, truth. Nion, look at what we have accomplished today. Kali and Nerazim fighting together, Protoss and humans coordinating in battle. We held this sacred world against overwhelming odds because we worked together. Does that not prove the value of cooperation? Nion's presence was silent. Then it proves only that survival sometimes requires unpleasant compromises. When the Ori are defeated, we will return to the proper order. If that is your final word, then we part ways here. But know this, the Nerazim stand with Selendes. If you attack her again, you attack us both. So be it. When this war ends, we will settle all old scores. Kali and Nerazim, tradition and heresy, unity and division. I look forward to it, Vorazun replied calmly. Nion's fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the system. The battle was over. Dakara was saved, but the cost had been terrible. 40% casualties across all forces, the temple damaged, the schism between Protoss factions now absolute. Mitchell stood in the temple's ruins looking at the bodies, human, Jaffa, and Protoss, all mixed together in death. Selendes materialized beside her. We won. Did we? Nion will never work with us again. Half the Protoss fleet considers you a traitor. The Ori escaped to fight another day. How is that winning? Because we saved millions of lives. Because we proved that different species can stand together. Because we showed that honor and cooperation are not mutually exclusive. Selendes paused. Is that not enough? Mitchell looked at her, this towering alien warrior who traveled across galaxies, who'd committed genocide by mistake, who'd found redemption through alliance with beings she once viewed as lesser. Yeah, Mitchell said quietly. Yeah, I think it is. Then we continue, together. Until either the Ori and Ammon are defeated or we die trying. Together, Mitchell agreed. And for the first time since this war began, she believed they might actually survive it. Stargate Command Interrogation Room, 3 days after the Battle of Dakara. The captured Ori Pryor sat motionless in the containment cell, restrained by energy fields that hummed with Asgard technology reinforced by Protoss psionic dampeners. He hadn't spoken since his capture, hadn't moved, just stared at the wall with eyes that glowed with false divinity. Doctor. Daniel Jackson sat across from him, notepad in hand, trying a different approach for the 15th time. "We know the Ori aren't really gods," Daniel said calmly. "We know you're ascended beings who feed on worship. We've fought your kind before. So let's skip the theology and talk practically. Why ally with the Taldarim? What do the Ori gain from resurrecting Ammon? Silence. Come on, you're defeated. Your fleet is scattered. The least you can do is defeated." The prior's voice was like grinding stone. "You understand nothing, mortal. The Ori cannot be defeated. We are eternal, we are infinite, and we are patient." "Finally, he talks," Daniel muttered. "Okay, so you're eternal, great. But you're also making alliances with beings from another galaxy. That suggests you need help. What are you afraid of?" The prior's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "Fear. We fear nothing, but we recognize opportunity. Ammon is a being of great power, a Xel'Naga who transcended his creator's limitations, who sought ascension through different means. He and we are kindred spirits who both demand worship and kill anyone who refuses. You say that as if it is unreasonable. All beings require purpose. We provide that purpose. Worship gives meaning to meaningless lives. And Ammon provides what exactly?" The prior leaned forward as much as the restraints would allow. "Knowledge. The Xel'Naga understood creation at a fundamental level. They shaped species, guided evolution, built life itself. That knowledge combined with Ori understanding of ascension. Imagine what we could create together. Hybrids," Daniel said quietly. "You're helping Ammon create hybrids, beings that combine Protoss and Zerg genetics. Why? Because the Protoss are pure in form. The Zerg are pure in essence. Combine them, add Ori blessing, and you create beings beyond anything this galaxy has ever seen. Perfect warriors, perfect worshippers, perfect vessels for divine will." Daniel felt ice form in his stomach. Where is Ammon creating these hybrids?" The prior smiled fully now. "Everywhere. In secret facilities across 17 systems, in laboratories hidden on worlds you've already visited, in the depths of the Ori Supergate itself. The hybrid program began before your Protoss allies even arrived in this galaxy. The Taldarim have been preparing for years. Years. How long have the Taldarim been in the Milky Way? Since the wormhole nexus was first discovered. They found it before Selendis' fleet. They came through quietly, observed, prepared. And when the time was right, they contacted us, proposed an alliance. The enemy of our enemy, as you primitives say. The Taldarim consider the Protoss Dalam their enemy. The Taldarim serve Ammon. The Dalam destroyed him. Of course they are enemies. And now, with Ori power, Ammon will rise again. Not as he was broken, defeated, but as something greater. Something that combines Xel'Naga creation, Protoss psionic might, Zerg adaptive evolution, and Ori ascension. He will be a god in truth, not merely in claim. And then what? He takes over the galaxies, plural. Ammon will return to the Koprulu sector with his new power, reclaim his throne. Finish what he started there. Then return here, and between Ori and Ammon, between origin and the void, all will kneel or all will die." Daniel stood abruptly. "We need to inform Selendis now." "Inform her of what, scholar? That her greatest enemy returns. She already knows. The Protoss have always known Ammon could not be truly destroyed, only delayed, and her delay has run out." Briefing room. 30 minutes later, General Landry stared at the holographic displays showing the information extracted from the prior. 17 systems. dozens of hidden facilities, and at the center of it all, the Ori Supergate pulsing with dark energy. "How long?" he asked. "Until Ammon fully manifests," Daniel consulted his notes. "The prior estimates 6 weeks, maybe less. The Taldarim have been gathering resources, conducting rituals, building the infrastructure needed for a proper resurrection. All they needed was Ori power to complete the process." Executor Selendis' hologram flickered with barely controlled rage. 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, the being who nearly destroyed my entire species will return stronger than ever. This is catastrophic. "Can you fight him?" Colonel Mitchell asked. "You defeated him once, right? In your galaxy, we defeated him with the combined might of Kali and Nerazim, plus assistance from Terran allies and even reformed Zerg swarms. It took years of war, millions of casualties. And we only succeeded because Ammon underestimated us. He will not make that mistake again." "Then we don't give him 6 weeks, Landry decided. "We find these facilities, destroy them, disrupt the resurrection before it completes." "It will not be that simple," Vorazun's hologram interjected. The Dark Templar matriarch had been listening silently until now. Ammon's resurrection requires more than just facilities and rituals. It requires sacrifice, psionic energy gathered from millions of beings. The Taldarim will be harvesting that energy from somewhere. "From where?" Mitchell demanded. "From the world's Nyan purged," Daniel said quietly, realization dawning. "Oh God, the millions who died in the initial Protoss invasion, the Taldarim have been collecting their life energy. That's why they let Nyan continue the purge even after Selendis called for ceasefire. They were using him." "That is abominable," Selendis projected, her consciousness radiating horror. "To use the deaths I caused, the innocent lives we took by mistake, as fuel for Ammon's return. Nyan has been manipulated into serving the very darkness we swore to destroy." "Does Nyan know?" Teal'c asked. "I do not believe so. Nyan is a zealot, but he is not corrupt. If he knew the Taldarim were using him to resurrect Ammon, he would turn on them immediately. His hatred of Ammon is absolute. Ammon's corruption of the Kala cost us Aer. No Kali Protoss would willingly aid that monster." "Then we need to tell him," Mitchell said. "Break the Taldarim's control over Nyan's faction. Get him to join us." "He will never join with you," Selendis said sadly. "But he might join against Ammon. That hatred runs deeper than any schism between us. Then let's arrange a meeting. You, Nyan, Vorazun, and us. Lay out the evidence. Show him what the Taldarim are really doing, if he does not kill me on sight. We'll make sure he doesn't. Neutral ground. Heavy security, and a really good explanation ready." Planet Abydos. Neutral ground. 2 days later, the ancient pyramid of Ra stood silent under Abydos' twin suns, a monument to false gods long dead. It was fitting, Mitchell thought, to hold this meeting here, a place where humans had first learned to stand against beings who claimed divinity. Executor Nyan materialized first, accompanied by a dozen zealot guards. His armor bore the scars of countless battles, and his presence in Mitchell's mind felt like cold judgment. "This had better not be a trap, Selendis," he projected. "I came only because you invoked the ancient right of parley." "But my patience is limited." "It is no trap," Selendis replied, materializing with her own guards. Vorazun appeared from shadows moments later. "We come with information you must hear. Information about the Taldarim and their true purpose. The Taldarim serve Ammon. I know this. I tolerate their presence because they fight the Ori effectively and because they do not interfere with the purge. What more is there to know?" "They're using you," Mitchell said bluntly. "The purge you're conducting, every death, every world you cleanse, the Taldarim are harvesting the psionic energy from those deaths. They're using it to fuel Ammon's resurrection." Nyan's presence went very still. "Lies. You seek to turn me against effective allies." "It's not lies." Daniel stepped forward, holding a data crystal. This contains interrogation records from a captured Ori prior, sensor logs from Taldarim facilities, energy readings that match Xel'Naga resurrection protocols. Nyan, they're using the deaths you've caused, deaths you believed were honorable, necessary, as fuel for the monster who destroyed Aer. They're using you. Show me. Daniel activated the holographic projector. The evidence played out. Taldarim harvest ships following Nyan's fleet. Energy collection from purged worlds. The Ori prior's confession. Ammon's facilities across 17 systems, all powered by psionic energy harvested from the dead. Millions of dead, killed by Nyan's forces, used by Ammon's cultists. Nyan's presence erupted with rage that made the air itself tremble. They use Protoss honor to serve that abomination. Now you understand, Selendis said quietly. This is why I called for ceasefire. Not just because the beings we killed were innocent, though they were, but because every death we cause serves Ammon's purpose. We have been manipulated, brother, both of us, used as tools by the enemy we hate most. I am no one's tool. Nyan's projection nearly physical in its intensity. Where is Alarak? Where are the Taldarim leaders? I will tear them apart. That's why we called this meeting, Mitchell said. We need to hit the Taldarim hard and fast, destroy their facilities, disrupt the resurrection, stop Ammon before he fully manifests. You ask me to fight alongside you, to join with Selendis, to work with primitives. I ask you to remember why you hate Ammon, Mitchell replied. I ask you to honor the millions of Protoss who died when he corrupted the Kala. I ask you to stop him from doing it again. Nyan was silent for a long moment. Then, I do not forgive you, Selendis. I do not accept your alliance with these lesser beings. I do not abandon my belief that this galaxy must be purged of corruption. But Ammon is the corruption. Ammon is the enemy, and until he is destroyed permanently, utterly, completely, I will work with you, all of you. But when Ammon falls, we return to our conflict. Agreed, Selendis said. First Ammon, then we settle our differences. Vorazun, Nyan's presence shifted toward the Dark Templar. You severed from the Kala, rejected Kala unity. But even you must hate Ammon. With every fiber of my being, Vorazun replied. The Nerazim fight alongside the Dalam against this threat. Then we have an accord, temporary, fragile, but sufficient. Nyan's presence carried grim determination. Now show me these Taldarim facilities. I wish to know exactly where to strike. Intelligence briefing High Templar Karas displayed holographic maps of the 17 systems containing Taldarim facilities. These installations are heavily defended. Each has at minimum 10,000 Taldarim warriors, multiple capital ships, and Ori support vessels. Attacking them all simultaneously would require resources we do not possess. Then we don't attack them all, Mitchell said. We prioritize. Which facility is most critical to the resurrection? The Ori Supergate, Vorazun said immediately. That is where Ammon will physically manifest. The other facilities are support infrastructure, breeding grounds for hybrids, energy collection stations, ritual sites. But the Supergate is the key. Destroy it and the resurrection fails. Can we destroy it? Landry asked. The Ori Supergate is massive. We're talking about a structure the size of a small moon. Merlin designed a weapon to destroy Supergate technology, Daniel said. If we can recover his research, modify it for Protoss power sources. I have a better idea, Nyan interjected. The Supergate is built on ancient technology, yes. And the ancients were connected to the Xel'Naga. The Supergate's core might be vulnerable to Xel'Naga weapons. Do you have Xel'Naga weapons? Mitchell asked. No, but I know where to find them. Planet Ravana, Takra base, 4 days after the Abydos meeting. The ancient Takra tunnels had been repurposed as a staging area for the assault on Taldarim facilities. Protoss, human, and Jaffa forces mingled in the underground chambers, preparing weapons, coordinating strategies, and trying to ignore the historical irony of enemies-turned-allies working together. Mitchell walked through the main chamber, observing the controlled chaos. Protoss phase smiths were installing psionic dampeners on human equipment. Jaffa warriors were training with Protoss zealots, learning to coordinate blade and staff weapon attacks. Dark Templar were teaching human scouts how to use shadows more effectively. It was unprecedented cooperation. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Daniel appeared beside her, carrying ancient texts he'd been studying. "Yeah, makes you wonder why it took a galaxy-ending threat to get here. That's how peace usually works. We don't cooperate until we absolutely must." Depressing thought, but hopeful too. If we can work together now, maybe we can keep working together after Ammon is dealt with. Colonel Mitchell, Selendis' presence touched her mind. "We have a problem. One of my scouts has detected Taldarim activity near Earth." "Earth? Why would they?" Mitchell's blood went cold. "The Ori Prior said they've been preparing for years. They could have infiltrated anywhere, even Earth." "Precisely. And if Taldarim are on Earth, they are either gathering intelligence or preparing sabotage. We need to get back there. Now." Earth, Colorado Springs Stargate Command. The alarm klaxons were already blaring when Mitchell materialized via Protoss teleportation. Still made her nauseous, but it was faster than the Stargate. Gunfire echoed through the corridors. People were screaming. "What's happening?" she shouted at the first security officer she saw. "Taldarim infiltrators, ma'am. They materialized inside the base somehow. They're heading for the gate room." "How many?" "At least 20. And they've got something else with them." "Some kind of creature." Mitchell's radio crackled. "All personnel, this is General Landry. We have confirmed hybrid presence. Repeat, hybrids are inside the base. Fall back to secondary positions." "Hybrids," Mitchell whispered. "Oh no." She ran toward the gate room, Teal'c and Daniel at her heels. They burst through the blast doors to find chaos. The gate room was a battleground. Taldarim warriors fighting SGC security forces. Ori Priors channeling energy from their staffs. And in the center, 3 creatures that looked like nightmares made flesh. They were 8 feet tall, vaguely humanoid but wrong. Protoss golden armor fused with Zerg chitin. Energy blades growing directly from their arms. Eyes glowing with intelligence and malice. And radiating from them, power. Psionic power mixed with something darker, more corrupted. Hybrids. Selendis' presence projected with horror as she materialized beside Mitchell. Ammon's abominations. But these are different, more refined, more controlled. The Ori have improved them. One of the hybrids turned toward them. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal and screaming souls combined. "Executor Selendis, the Master will be pleased to reclaim you," it charged. Selendis met it with her psi blades, the 2 titans clashing in the center of the gate room. Energy sparked. Metal screamed. And Mitchell realized, even a Protoss executor was barely holding her own against a single hybrid. "We need to help her." Mitchell raised her P90. "Bullets won't hurt it," Daniel shouted. "Then we get creative." Mitchell grabbed a plasma grenade from a fallen Marine and threw it directly at the hybrid. The explosion staggered the creature. Not much, but enough for Selendis to land a killing blow. The first hybrid fell, but 2 more remained, and more Taldarim were teleporting in. "All forces fall back," Selendis commanded. "We cannot hold this position." "The hell we can't," Mitchell replied. "This is our base, our world. We don't abandon it. Then we fight together. Dalam warriors to me." Protoss zealots materialized throughout the gate room, engaging Taldarim in honorable combat. Dark Templar appeared from shadows, assassinating hybrids with void-empowered blades. And the SGC personnel, rallied by Mitchell's refusal to retreat, fought with desperate courage. The second hybrid fell to combined fire from Jaffa staff weapons and Protoss void rays. The third was cornered by Teal'c and High Templar Karas working in perfect coordination, staff weapon blasts disrupting its shields, while psionic lightning fried its nervous system. The Tal'Darim, seeing their hybrids defeated, began retreating toward the Stargate, but their leader, Alaric himself, paused at the threshold. This was merely a test, Selendis, he projected, to see if you could protect your primitive allies, to see if you had grown weak, and your conclusion. That you have indeed grown weak, but also dangerous. You have learned to fight as they fight, without honor, without structure, but with adaptability. That makes you unpredictable. Ammon will be intrigued. Tell Ammon he can be as intrigued as he wishes. When we meet, it will be for the last time. We shall see. Alaric vanished through the gate. The battle was over. But the gate room was a disaster, scorch marks everywhere, bodies both human and Protoss lying motionless, equipment destroyed. Casualty report, Landry demanded as he entered. 37 dead, someone reported. 54 wounded, both human and Protoss casualties, sir. The hybrids, all 3 terminated. We're analyzing the remains now. Selendis knelt beside one of her fallen zealots, Talus. He fought with honor, died protecting those he once would have purged. This is growth. This is redemption. He saved a dozen people, Mitchell said quietly. Including me, he's a hero. Heroes should not have to die, Selendis projected sadly. No, but they do anyway, that's what makes them heroes. Later, briefing room Dr. Carolyn Lamb presented her analysis of the hybrid remains. These aren't like anything we've encountered. They're not purely biological or technological, they're both, and more. The Protoss components show psionic enhancement. The Zerg components have adaptive evolution capabilities, and there's something else, energy signatures matching Ori blessing. These things were designed to counter everything we have. How do we fight them? Landry asked. Combined tactics, Selendis said. Individually, neither Protoss nor humans are strong enough, but together, using your adaptability and our power, we can overcome them. How many more are there? The Prior mentioned hundreds being created, Daniel said, across those 17 facilities. If they're deployed in the final battle, then we're facing an army of those things, Mitchell finished. That's not a battle, that's a slaughter. Unless we strike first, Nion's hologram interjected. The Executor had been monitoring from his fleet. We cannot allow the Tal'Darim to deploy their full hybrid forces. We must attack now, before they are ready. We're not ready either, Landry pointed out. Then we prepare quickly, because I have intelligence from my scouts. The Tal'Darim are moving toward the Ori Supergate. All 17 facilities are transferring resources there. Ammon's resurrection is accelerating. We have perhaps 2 weeks, not 6. 2 weeks to assemble an assault force, plan an attack, and destroy the most heavily fortified position in the galaxy, Mitchell said. No pressure. War is always pressure, Nion replied. The question is whether we rise to it or break beneath it. Then we rise, Landry decided. All forces begin preparation for final assault. We're going to storm the Ori Supergate, and we're going to stop Ammon from returning. Or die trying. Dying is acceptable, Nion said. Failure is not. For once, Mitchell completely agreed with him. Meanwhile, Ori Supergate deep in the dark between stars, the massive structure pulsed with dark energy. The Ori Supergate, gateway to another galaxy, monument to false gods, and now, cradle for a resurrected deity. At its center, in a chamber carved from pure void energy, something stirred. Not alive, not yet, but becoming. Ammon's consciousness, fractured and scattered across the cosmos, was being gathered, pulled together by Tal'Darim rituals and Ori power, given form by hybrid biomass and Xel'Naga technology. He was returning, and when he fully manifested, the galaxy would burn. Executor Nion, the zealot, the extremist, the Protoss who believed in purging the weak, stood on his carrier's bridge and watched his ships being corrupted. Taldarim vessels were docking with his carriers. Warriors in crimson and black boarded without resistance, and his own zealots were changing. Their armor darkening, their eyes shifting from blue to red, their consciousness being pulled from the Kala towards something else, something darker. What is this? Nyan projected to his fleet. What is happening to my warriors? Alaric's presence entered the Kala uninvited. This is evolution, Nyan. This is the next step. Your warriors are being blessed by Ammon, given power beyond mere Kala connection, becoming hybrid. No, I did not agree to this. You agreed to work with us, to fight alongside the Taldarim. Did you truly believe we would not extract payment? Your warriors, your ships, your loyalty, these now belong to Ammon. I will kill you for this betrayal. You will try, and you will fail. Because Ammon has already touched your mind, Nyan. You did not notice, so focused were you on hating Selendis. But every moment you worked with us, every battle you fought at our side, Ammon's influence grew. You are already his, you just do not know it yet. Nyan felt it then, something foreign in his consciousness. Not his thoughts, not the Kala, something that felt like Ammon, corrupted, dark. Twisting his mind toward servitude. Get out of my mind, too late. Submit, Nyan, join the master. Become what you were always meant to be, a weapon of divine will. Nyan fought, with everything he had, with centuries of warrior discipline, with absolute refusal to be enslaved. He fought. But Ammon was stronger. The darkness spread through Nyan's consciousness like ink through water. His thoughts twisted, his purpose corrupted, his very self being rewritten. When it was over, executor Nyan, zealot, extremist, believer in Protoss supremacy, no longer existed. In his place, something new. Something terrible, something that served Ammon absolutely. The corrupted Nyan opened communication channels to all Protoss forces, Kalai and Nerazim alike. Selendis, Vorazun, all who oppose the master. I bring you a message. Ammon rises. His armies gather. His hybrid perfect themselves. And when he returns, all will kneel or all will be consumed. I once believed in honor, in the Kala, in Protoss supremacy. But Ammon has shown me the truth. Power is all, and he is power incarnate. Come to the Supergate. Bring your armies, fight if you dare. IT will change nothing. Ammon is inevitable. Ammon is eternal. Ammon is God. The transmission ended. Selendis felt the loss like a physical wound. Nyan had been her brother, her rival, her opposite in every way, but he had been Protoss, and now he was lost. Vorazun, she projected. Did you feel I did? Nyan is gone, corrupted. Made into Ammon's puppet. We have lost 15 carriers and perhaps 50,000 warriors to the enemy. We cannot delay. We must strike now, before more are corrupted. Agreed. Gather the fleets. We assault the Supergate. It is likely a trap, certainly a trap, but what choice do we have? If we wait, Ammon completes his resurrection. If we attack, we might stop him. Perhaps we die either way, but at least we die fighting. Very Kalai of you, Vorazun said with dark humor. I learned from the best. Intero Tassadar, sister. Intero Tassadar, Atlantis, Pegasus Galaxy. 3 days after Nyan's corruption. The ancient city ship floated on an alien ocean, its spires gleaming in the light of an unfamiliar sun. Colonel Mitchell had never been to Atlantis. Her missions kept her in the Milky Way, but the legendary city lived up to its reputation. This is incredible, she breathed, standing on one of the main piers. Wait until you see the temple, Dr. Rodney McKay said, appearing with his usual combination of genius and social awkwardness. According to the ancient database, there's a Zelnaga shrine buried under Atlantis. Been there for millions of years. We didn't even know it existed until your Protoss friends mentioned it. Selendis stood nearby, her towering form out of place among ancient architecture. The Zelnaga and the ancients were contemporaries. Both species dedicated to uplifting younger races. Both abandoned their children when those children disappointed them. It makes sense they would have diplomatic contact. And this shrine contains a weapon that can kill Ammon, Mitchell asked. Not kill, sever. Ammon draws power from the void, a dimension outside normal space-time. This weapon can cut him off from that power source, make him vulnerable, mortal. Sounds perfect. What's the catch? Vorazun materialized from shadows. The catch is that the weapon requires a willing sacrifice. Someone must wield it, carry it into Ammon's presence, and activate it knowing they will not survive the process. Of course there's a sacrifice, Mitchell muttered. There's always a sacrifice. Not just any sacrifice, Selendes added. The weapon tests worthiness. Only beings of pure purpose, those who fight for something greater than themselves, can wield it. It will reject anyone with selfish intent. So we need a volunteer, someone willing to die. Someone the weapon will accept. Mitchell looked at the assembled group, Selendes, Vorazun, Teal'c, Daniel, Rodney, and herself. That's a pretty grim job application. I will do it, Selendes said immediately. This is my responsibility. I brought my people to this galaxy. I started the conflict that gave Ammon opportunity. I should be the one to end it. No, Vorazun countered. You are needed to command. The Dalam looks to you for leadership. I will wield the weapon. The Nerazim have always walked in shadow. Let me walk into this darkness as well. Neither of you is going, Mitchell said firmly. We need Protoss commanders. What we don't need is... She trailed off, realizing what she was about to volunteer for. Teal'c placed a hand on her shoulder. Colonel Mitchell, do not make this decision hastily. I'm not. I'm making it logically. We need Selendes to command the Dalam forces. We need Vorazun to coordinate the Nerazim assault. We need Daniel for his knowledge of ancient technology. We need Rodney to keep Atlantis running. But me, I'm a field commander. Good at tactics, decent at shooting things, but not essential to overall strategy. I'm the logical choice. Sarah, Daniel started. Don't, she interrupted. This is what we do, what we've always done. We make the hard calls. We sacrifice so others can live. That's the job. You are braver than I gave credit for, Selendes projected. When we first met, I thought you primitive, weak, lesser. But you possess a courage that shames my centuries of experience. Save the eulogies. Let's just hope the weapon accepts me. Where is this shrine? The Xel'Naga shrine, deep below Atlantis. The chamber was older than anything Mitchell had ever seen. Older than the pyramids, older than human civilization, older than Earth itself. Ancient technology looked aged. This looked timeless, eternal. At the center, an altar carved from crystalline material that glowed with internal light, and resting on the altar, a weapon. It looked like a sword, but it was more than that. The blade seemed to phase in and out of reality, as if it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Protoss symbols covered the hilt, but they were written in a style that predated modern Kali script by millennia. The Kaidarin blade, Selendes whispered. I have only seen drawings in ancient texts. The Xel'Naga created it as a failsafe. A weapon that could sever their creations from the void if those creations grew too powerful. Will it work on Ammon? He is Xel'Naga himself, but corrupted, changed. The weapon should recognize him as an aberration and respond accordingly. Should. That's reassuring. Mitchell approached the altar carefully. The weapon hummed not sound but a vibration she felt in her bones, in her mind. She reached out. The moment her fingers touched the hilt, her consciousness exploded. She was everywhere, everyone. Seeing the universe from perspectives she couldn't comprehend. She saw the Xel'Naga creating the Protoss, shaping them, making them pure in form. She saw the Xel'Naga creating the Zerg, engineering them, making them pure in essence. She saw Ammon, the fallen Xel'Naga, deciding that perfection required control, that free will was weakness, that all must serve or be destroyed. She saw the Protoss-Zerg conflict spanning millennia, worlds burning, species dying, All because two races created to be perfect couldn't coexist. She saw Ammon's first defeat, his essence scattered, his body destroyed, but his will surviving, and she saw what he would become if resurrected with Ori power, an entity that could unmake reality itself, a god not of creation but of consumption. A being that would devour everything, Protoss, Zerg, human, all life in every galaxy until only Ammon remained. The vision released her. Mitchell collapsed, gasping, sweat pouring down her face. "Did it accept you?" Selendis asked anxiously. I think so. I can still hold it. And I saw. God, I saw everything. What Ammon is. What he wants to become. We can't let that happen. We can't. The weapon pulsed in her hand. Not painful, but insistent. A voice, not spoken but impressed directly into her mind, said, "The blade accepts you, warrior of Tori. Your purpose is pure. Your sacrifice is acknowledged. When the time comes, you will know what to do." "Great," Mitchell muttered. "Cryptic ancient weapons, my favorite." Journey back to the Milky Way, the Atlantis expedition had provided a specially modified puddle jumper, a small ancient spacecraft capable of both gate travel and hyperspace. It was faster than going through multiple gates, and it gave them time to plan. Mitchell sat in the back, the Kaidorin blade across her lap, trying not to think about the fact that she just volunteered for a suicide mission. Daniel sat beside her. "You don't have to do this, you know. There might be another way." "Like what?" "Time travel, alternate realities. We've tried those, they never work out well." "I'm serious, Sarah. This weapon, it's going to kill you. You understand that, right?" "I understand. But Daniel, you saw what Ammon will become if we don't stop him. That future, that nightmare, it can't happen. And if my life is the price to prevent it," she shrugged, "I've made worse trades. What about your family, your friends, the people who care about you? They'll understand, or they won't, but they'll be alive, that's what matters." Teal'c entered the compartment. "Colonel Mitchell. We are approaching the rendezvous coordinates." "Already? Felt like 5 minutes. Hyperspace is disorienting. We have been traveling for 6 hours. Mitchell stood, securing the blade to her back. "Okay, let's see what kind of army we've managed to scrape together." Rendezvous point. Deep space. The fleet was staggering. 300 ships, the largest assembled force in Milky Way history. 50 Tori BC 304s and Haddock vessels. 120 Protoss carriers, Kali and Nerazim combined. 80 free Jaffa motherships. 20 Takra vessels. Even the Asgard legacy ships humanity had inherited, and commanding them, Selendis, Vorazun, General Landry, and Braddock. The ship Mitchell's jumper docked with, Selendis' flagship Spear of Adun, was the largest Protoss vessel in the fleet. A supercarrier so massive it had its own gravitational field. "That's not a ship," Mitchell said. "That's a flying city." "It is a warship," Selendis corrected, "built to carry the entire Dalam fleet if necessary. Today it carries our hopes." The command deck was a cathedral of technology, crystalline consoles, holographic displays, and the ever-present glow of the Kala connecting Kali Protoss minds. Selendis activated the fleet-wide communication. "Warriors of 3 galaxies. Today we face an enemy unlike any we have fought before. Ammon, the fallen Zelnaga, the corrupter of the Kala, the destroyer of Aer, returns. He has allied with the Ori. He has created hybrid abominations. He has corrupted our brother Nyan, and he seeks to unmake all we have built. But he underestimates us. He believes we are weak, divided, easily conquered. He is wrong. We are Protoss, we are Tori, we are Jaffa. We are free beings who choose to stand together against tyranny. That choice, that unity, is our greatest strength. Today we storm the Ori Supergate. Today we end Ammon's return. And if we must die to do so, we die knowing we fought for something greater than ourselves. Intaro Tassadar. Intaro Tori. Intaro all who stand for freedom." The fleet roared its approval, psionic voices, radio transmissions, and battle cries blending into one. "Ready?" General Landry asked from the Odyssey. "As ready as we'll ever be," Mitchell replied. "Then let's finish this. All ships jump to Supergate coordinates. Final battle begins now." The fleet jumped. 300 ships, one impossible mission. And the fate of 2 galaxies hanging in the balance. Ori Supergate, deep space, edge of the Milky Way. The structure was impossible. Colonel Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Spear of Adun, staring at the viewscreen, trying to comprehend the scale of what she was seeing. The Ori Supergate wasn't just a gate. It was a monument to false divinity made manifest. 3 massive rings, each one large enough to encompass a small moon, rotating in perfect synchronization. And between those rings, pure energy. Not the stable blue of a normal Stargate wormhole, but something darker. Red and gold and black all swirling together like a wound in reality itself. That's not right," Daniel said quietly beside her. "Stargates connect 2 points in space. But that thing, it's connecting to another dimension entirely. The Ori's home realm. And serving as Ammon's resurrection cradle, Selendi's added, her presence in Mitchell's mind heavy with dread. The structure has been modified. Zelnaga biotechnology integrated with Ori ancient technology. It is a fusion of 3 species' greatest achievements, all devoted to birthing an abomination. Can we destroy it?" General Landry asked from the Odyssey. "Destroy it?" Rodney McKay's voice came over the comm from Atlantis's remote operations center. "That thing is outputting more energy than a dozen stars. If we blow it up, the resulting explosion could sterilize half the galaxy." "Then we disable it," Mitchell said. "Cut the power. Stop Ammon's resurrection before it completes. It may already be too late." Vora's unwarned, her dark Templar ship phasing into visibility near the Spear of Adun. "I sense something, a presence within the gate, not fully manifested but becoming. Ammon is already partially here." As if in response to her words, the Supergate pulsed. Energy rippled across its surface. And then, impossibly, a voice spoke, not transmitted, not broadcast, but imposed directly into the minds of every being in the fleet. "You come to stop my return. How?" Quaint, the voice was like continents grinding together, like galaxies colliding. It was Ammon, but not fully, a consciousness existing between dimensions, reaching through the gate to make itself known. "I am inevitable. I am eternal. I am the future you cannot prevent." "The hell you are," Mitchell muttered. "All ships, battle stations, prepare to engage." But even as she gave the order, the enemy fleet appeared. Taldarim carriers, 50 of them, all bearing Ammon's crimson and black colors. Nion's corrupted vessels, 15 more, their golden armor now stained with darkness. And Ori motherships, 30 massive warships that had been waiting in hiding. 95 enemy capital ships against the coalition's 300. The numbers favored the alliance. But Mitchell had learned that numbers weren't everything. Selendi's, Nion's corrupted voice projected across all channels. "I almost thank you. Your alliance with primitives. Your rejection of the Kala's true purpose. All of IT led to this moment. All of IT served the master." "Nion, please," Selendi's projected desperately. "You were corrupted. This is not you. This is Ammon's influence. Fight it. Remember who you are." "I remember perfectly. I was a fool who believed in honor, in tradition, in Protoss supremacy. But Ammon showed me the truth. Power is all. And he is power incarnate." The corrupted fleet opened fire. The battle begins. Space erupted into the largest battle the Milky Way had ever witnessed. 300 coalition ships against 95 enemy vessels. But those 95 had Ammon's blessing, Ori technology, and hybrid shock troops. The BC-304 Odyssey led the Tory battle group, her Asgard beam weapons cutting into Taldarim shields with devastating precision. But for every Taldarim carrier damaged, an Ori mothership would interpose itself. absorbing the fire with shields that seemed to feed on energy weapons. The Free Jaffa motherships advanced in wing formation, plasma cannons blazing. Haddock after haddock unleashed everything they had, but the corrupted Protoss vessels teleported through their lines, appearing behind the Jaffa ships and firing point blank. And the Protoss fleet, Kali and Nerazim working together for the first time in millennia, engaged their corrupted brethren in battles that were as much philosophical as physical. Why do you resist? Corrupted zealots projected as they teleported onto Selendis' carriers. Ammon offers perfection. Unity, an end to the weakness of choice. Choice is not weakness. Selendis' warriors replied, meeting them blade to blade. Choice is strength. The strength to be more than what we were created to be. The Nerazim fought with ruthless efficiency, void powers tearing through corrupted shields. Where the Kali held to honorable combat, the Dark Templars struck from shadows, assassinated commanders, disrupted formations with guerrilla tactics that Ammon's forces, bred for direct confrontation, struggled to counter. But the enemy had hybrids, hundreds of them, deployed from Taldarim carriers like living missiles. Each one a fusion of Protoss psionic power and Zerg biological adaptation, enhanced with Ori blessing. They boarded coalition ships by the dozen. On the Odyssey, Colonel Carter found herself defending the bridge against 3 hybrids simultaneously, her Zat gun barely slowing them down. "They're adapting," she shouted. "Every weapon we use they counter within seconds. Then we improvise." Mitchell's voice came over the comm. "Use the environment, decompress compartments, overload power conduits. Make them fight on our terms, not theirs." Carter didn't hesitate. She triggered the bridge's emergency decompression, venting atmosphere and sucking 2 of the hybrids into space. The third grabbed a support beam, holding on with impossible strength. Then Teal'c appeared, firing his staff weapon point blank into the creature's face. Not to kill it, hybrids were nearly unkillable, but to disorient it long enough for Carter to reverse the decompression and seal it in a cargo bay. "That won't hold it long," she said. "It need only hold long enough," Teal'c replied. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Humans, Jaffa, and Protoss fighting hybrid incursions with courage, adaptability, and desperation. The battle was chaos, beautiful, terrible chaos. And in the center of it all, the Supergate, pulsing with increasing intensity as Ammon's resurrection neared completion. The Spear of Adun, Bridge Executor Selendis coordinated the fleet from her flagship, her consciousness linked to hundreds of Protoss vessels through the Kala. She could feel every ship, every warrior, every death, and there were so many deaths. "Fleet status," she demanded. 87 coalition vessels remain combat effective, High Templar Karas reported. "We have lost over 200 ships. Casualties are at 60%, but the enemy has lost 30 ships. We are winning the attrition war, at too high a cost, and the Supergate remains operational." Mitchell appeared on the bridge via emergency transport, the Kadarin blade strapped to her back. "Selendis, we need to get me to that gate. To Ammon, if I can get close enough to use this weapon. The gate is surrounded by hybrid defenses, Taldarim zealots, corrupted Protoss. Getting you there would require a distraction," Mitchell finished. "Something big enough to draw every enemy ship away from the gate, even for a few minutes. A suicidal diversion." "Yeah, got any volunteers?" Selendis was silent for a moment. "Then, I will lead it personally. Take my fastest void ray, approach the gate while I draw their fire. You'll die, perhaps, but you carry the weapon that can end this. My life is a small price for victory." "It's not small to me," Mitchell said quietly. You're my friend, Selendis, one of the best I've ever had. I don't want to lose you." Selendis' presence radiated warmth, an emotion Mitchell had never felt from her before. "Then ensure my sacrifice matters. Reach Ammon, use the blade, end this war. That is how you honor friendship." Mitchell swallowed hard. Intero Adun Executor, Intero Tori Colonel. Now go, before I change my mind about dying today. The diversion Selendis' voice boomed across all coalition channels. All ships, form on me. We attack the enemy flagship directly, for Ayer, for Earth, for all worlds that stand against false gods. Every remaining coalition vessel turned toward the corrupted Nion's massive carrier, the former flagship of the extremist faction, now a monument to Ammon's corruption. 200 ships, battered, bleeding, but unbroken. They charged. The enemy fleet, unable to ignore such a direct assault, turned to meet them, which left the Supergate briefly undefended. Mitchell's Void Ray, a small, fast Protoss ship crewed by a single Dark Templar pilot, shot through the gap. They covered the distance in seconds, weaving through debris fields and energy blasts. "We're through," the pilot projected. Approaching the gate's central structure, Mitchell could see it now, the heart of the Supergate where 3 massive rings met. And there, suspended in energy, something forming, not fully physical yet but becoming. Ammon's new body. It was grotesque, a fusion of Protoss, Zerg, Ori, and Xel'Naga characteristics. 20 feet tall, 4 arms, each one ending in energy blades or bioweapons. Wings that seemed to be made of pure void energy, and eyes, so many eyes, all glowing with power that made reality itself bend. "You come to stop me, little warrior," Ammon's voice filled Mitchell's mind. "How admirably futile. I've stopped worse than you," Mitchell lied, hoping her voice didn't shake. "No, you have not. I am beyond anything you have encountered. I am the synthesis of 4 species' greatest achievements. I am perfection. Perfection is boring. I prefer scrappy underdogs with good hearts." The Void Ray crashed directly into the gate's central platform. Mitchell leaped out, the Khaderin blade in hand, charging toward Ammon's forming body. Hybrid guards materialized to stop her. She cut through them. The blade seemed to know what to do, moving almost of its own accord, severing hybrid limbs with impossible ease. But there were too many. Then, golden light, Kali zealots teleporting in. "We will hold them, Colonel. Reach Ammon, dark shapes. Nerazim assassins. Go. We buy you time." Even Jaffa, somehow transported here via Asgard beaming technology. Teal'c and Braddock leading them, staff weapons blazing. "For the Tory, for freedom." Mitchell ran. Hybrid after hybrid fell to the coalition warriors defending her, every species, every faction. United in one desperate final push, she reached Ammon's forming body, raised the Khaderin blade, and struck. The blade plunged into Ammon's chest, or what would be his chest once he fully manifested. Reality screamed. The Supergate central platform. The moment the Khaderin blade pierced Ammon's forming body, everything changed. The energy swirling around the Supergate went haywire. The 3 massive rings stopped rotating. The dark colors shifted to blinding white. And Ammon, partially manifested, caught between dimensions, screamed. Not with sound, with psionic force that rippled across the entire battle space. Every Protoss connected to the Khala felt it. A presence they'd hoped was gone forever, now dying but defiant. "You cannot kill me." Ammon's voice was weakening but still terrible. "I am eternal." "I am, you're finished," Mitchell said through gritted teeth, pushing the blade deeper. The weapon pulsed, glowing brighter with each second. "The Xel'Naga created you, and the Xel'Naga created the weapon to end you. Poetic justice. If I fall, I take you with me. All of you." Ammon's partially formed hands grabbed Mitchell, lifting her off her feet. His grip was crushing. She felt ribs crack, felt his power trying to invade her mind, to corrupt her as he'd corrupted Nion. But the Khaderin blade was still embedded in his chest. And its power was severing Ammon's connection to the void, to the Ori collective, to everything that gave him strength. He was becoming mortal, and mortal beings could die. "Mitchell." Selendis' presence burst into her consciousness. "The blade requires a complete sacrifice." IT will not sever Ammon unless you remain with IT. You must. I know, Mitchell gasped. I always knew. She thought of the vision the blade had shown her. The universe before Ammon's corruption. The universe that could exist if he was truly ended. It was worth dying for. Selendes, she projected with the last of her strength. Tell General Landry, tell him I did my duty, tell Earth, tell them we won, and tell the Protoss. Tell them humans are honored to call you friends. No, there must be another way I can. There isn't. You know there isn't. Just. Don't let it be for nothing. Don't let the alliance fall apart. Keep humans and Protoss together. Promise me. Selendes' presence radiated anguish. I promise. Entaro Tori, Sarah Mitchell. Entaro, friend. Mitchell smiled despite the pain. Entaro Adun, executor. She activated the blade's final function. Pure Xel'Naga energy exploded outward. Not destructive, transformative. It swept through Ammon's forming body, unmaking it at the molecular level, severing every connection to the void. Destroying every fragment of his consciousness scattered across dimensions. Ammon's scream echoed across 2 galaxies, and then silence. The false god was dead, truly, permanently, finally dead. But so was Sarah Mitchell. Her body, still clutching the blade, drifted in the void where Ammon had been. The weapon's glow faded, its purpose fulfilled. The battles end the moment Ammon died, his forces collapsed. The corrupted Protoss vessels, Nion's 15 carriers, suddenly stopped fighting. Their crews, freed from Ammon's control, looked around in confusion and horror at what they'd done. The Taldarim fleet broke apart. Some vessels fled. Others, realizing their god was truly gone, simply surrendered. And the Ori motherships, cut off from the power they'd been channeling through Ammon, became vulnerable. The coalition fleet fell upon them with renewed fury. Within an hour it was over. The Ori forces were destroyed or scattered. The Taldarim were defeated. The corrupted Protoss were freed. But the cost had been staggering. Of the 300 coalition ships that had entered the battle, only 97 remained. Casualties were estimated at over 300,000. Entire crews lost, whole fleets decimated. And among the fallen, Colonel Sarah Mitchell, hero of Earth, who'd saved 2 galaxies with a single sacrifice. The spear of Adun, medical base Selendes, stood over Mitchell's body, which had been recovered from the Supergate's debris field. The human warrior looked peaceful, no pain on her face, just quiet. She saved us all, Vorazun projected gently. Her sacrifice ended Ammon permanently. The Ori collective has fractured without his power. The Taldarim are leaderless. The war is won, at too high a price. War always costs too much, but she chose this, honored us by choosing this. I know, but I wish. Selendes' presence carried grief that rippled through the Kala. I wish I had thanked her, truly thanked her, for showing me that honor transcends species, that friendship is possible even between enemies, that redemption is real. She knew, trust that she knew. A medical officer entered, human from the Odyssey. Executor Selendes, we've completed the autopsy. The cause of death was, well, technically her entire molecular structure was disrupted by Xel'Naga energy, but she didn't suffer. It was instant. Small mercies, Selendes said aloud, her translated voice carrying sorrow that the officer clearly understood. Ma'am, we're holding a memorial service for all the fallen, human, Jaffa, and Protoss together. We'd be honored if you'd speak. I will. It is the least I can do. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the fleet, Executor Nion's consciousness slowly returned. The darkness that had gripped his mind for weeks was lifting, and with its departure came terrible clarity. He remembered everything, being corrupted, serving Ammon, fighting against his own people, killing innocents in the false god's name. What have I done? He projected in despair. High Templar Karaz appeared via hologram. You were corrupted, Nion. Ammon took your will. This was not your choice, but I allowed it. I was so consumed by hatred of Selendes, so certain that I was right and she was wrong, that I became vulnerable. My pride, my arrogance, my refusal to admit error, all of it created an opening for Ammon to exploit. Then learn from this. Grow, become better. How can I? I led our forces against the coalition. I killed our own warriors. You did what Ammon commanded. Selendes' presence interjected, joining the conversation. And now you are free. What you do with that freedom defines you. You would forgive me. After everything, forgiveness is not mine to give. That belongs to those who died by your hand. But understanding, acceptance that you were manipulated, yes, I offer that, because I have made mistakes too. Millions died because of my error in judgment. If I can be redeemed, so can you. Nion's presence was silent for a long moment. Then I do not deserve such mercy. None of us deserve mercy, but we receive it anyway. That is what makes us better than the false gods we fought. Then I will spend the rest of my existence trying to earn it, to prove worthy of the second chance I have been given. That is all any of us can do. 1 week later, memorial service. Earth orbit. The memorial was held in space, visible from Earth's surface. Every remaining ship in the coalition fleet formed up in perfect formation, their running lights creating patterns against the black of space. At the center, a small capsule containing a holographic list of names, every being who died in the war. Human, Jaffa, Protoss, millions of names scrolling endlessly, and at the top of that list, Colonel Sarah Mitchell, Stargate Command, Tory. General Landry spoke first, his voice transmitted to every ship, every world, every being listening. We gather today to honor those who fell, to remember their sacrifice, to ensure they are never forgotten. Colonel Sarah Mitchell was a soldier, a leader, a friend. She fought the Goa'uld, stood against the Ori, and when the Protoss first arrived in our galaxy, when war seemed inevitable, she was among the first to reach across the divide and seek understanding. Without her courage, we would not have the alliance we have today. Without her sacrifice, Ammon would have returned and consumed everything. She gave her life so that billions could live. That is the definition of heroism. Intaro Tori, Colonel. Intaro Tori. Selendes spoke next, her translated voice carrying across all channels. ****. I did not know Colonel Mitchell long. By Protoss standards, our friendship was brief, mere months. But in that time, she taught me more about honor than I had learned in centuries. She taught me that admitting error takes greater courage than continuing a mistake. She taught me that different species can work together not despite their differences, but because of them. She taught me that redemption is possible, even for those who have committed terrible wrongs. The Protoss came to this galaxy in arrogance. We believed we were superior. We believed our judgment was infallible. We were wrong, and millions died because of our error. But Colonel Mitchell showed us a better way, not through condemnation but through cooperation. Not through revenge but through redemption. For that lesson, the Protoss owe humanity a debt that can never be fully repaid, but we will spend the rest of our existence trying. Intaro Tori, Sarah Mitchell, your sacrifice will be remembered, your friendship will be honored, and your legacy will endure. Intaro Adun, Intaro Tori. The capsule was released, drifting among the stars, a memorial that would orbit Earth forever, visible to anyone who looked up and remembered what had been sacrificed for freedom. 5 years later, Earth, Stargate Command Memorial Garden. The garden had been built on the mountain above Cheyenne Mountain, overlooking Colorado Springs. It was a place of peace, of remembrance, and of hope. Executor Selendes walked among the memorial stones. Her adapted form, she'd learned to take a more humanoid configuration for diplomacy, moving with the grace of centuries of experience. She stopped at one particular stone, smaller than some, larger than others. With a simple inscription, Colonel Sarah Mitchell, Stargate Command 2348 to 2381, She chose to stand between the darkness and the light. In Taro Tori, you would be proud, I think, Selendi said aloud. Of what we have built. A voice behind her, talking to yourself, executor. I thought the Kala prevented that, Selendi's turned. General Hank Landry, now retired but still visiting the memorial regularly, smiled at her. I speak to a friend, Selendi's replied. Even if she cannot answer, she'd be glad to know you still think of her. Every day. Her sacrifice made everything that followed possible. Want to walk with me? I was going to give you the tour update anyway. They walked together through the garden, Landry pointing out new additions. This section is for the Jaffa who fell. Over there, the Protoss Memorial, both Kali and Nerazim together, which I'm told is historically significant. It is, Selendi's confirmed. For millennia, we were divided. Now we honor our dead side by side. That alone proves how much has changed. They reached an overlook where the entire Colorado Springs Valley was visible, and in the distance, something that hadn't existed 5 years ago, a Protoss settlement. Golden spires rising alongside human buildings. Protoss and humans walking together through shared streets. The integration city, Landry said, one of 12 established worldwide. Protoss teaching humans psionic disciplines. Humans teaching Protoss adaptability and innovation. It's working better than anyone expected, because we learn to respect each other, to value what each brings. And in the Pegasus galaxy, the joint Tori Protoss city on Lantia thrives. We call it New Aer in Kali, New Earth in your language. 15,000 inhabitants, half human, half Protoss, children of both species growing up together, learning from each other. Children? I didn't know Protoss had children. Selendi's made a sound that might have been a laugh. We do not reproduce as humans do, but we do create new Protoss. And in the joint cities, young Protoss and human children learn together, form friendships, grow up without the prejudices that nearly destroyed us. That's Sarah's real legacy, Landry said quietly, not just defeating Ammon. Creating a future where our species can coexist. Indeed, they reached another memorial stone. This one bore many names, Nyan and the 15 carriers worth of Protoss who'd been corrupted and died fighting for Ammon. Nyan visits this stone every week, Selendi said. He feels responsible for every death that occurred while he was corrupted. Is he doing okay? Last I heard, he'd withdrawn from public life. He serves in the Reclamation Corps now, helping rebuild worlds damaged by the war. Protoss worlds, human worlds, he does not discriminate. It is his way of atoning, and the Taldarim, the ones who survived, most have integrated into Dalam society. Some remain separate, maintaining their own colonies, but they no longer worship Ammon. Without their false god, they had to learn to be individuals. It has been difficult for them, but necessary. And Alaric, dead, killed in the final battle, which is fitting. He served Ammon absolutely. When Ammon fell, so did he. They walked in companionable silence for a while. Then Landry asked, "Do you ever regret it, coming to our galaxy?" Selendi's was quiet for a long moment. "I regret the deaths we caused, the millions who died because of our mistake. That guilt will never leave me. But do I regret what we built from that tragedy? The alliance, the friendship, the future we created together? No, never." Sarah would be glad to hear that. I hope so. Sometimes I speak to her, as you saw, telling her about our progress, about the cities we've built, the peace we've maintained, the threats we've faced together. It helps to believe she hears somehow. Maybe she does. The ancients believed consciousness persists after death. Maybe Sarah's out there somewhere watching, proud of what you've all accomplished. A comforting thought. They reached the garden's entrance where a young woman waited. She was in her late 20s, wearing a Stargate command uniform with lieutenant's bars. Executor Selendi's. "I'm Lieutenant Samantha Mitchell. I believe you knew my aunt." Selendi's felt her consciousness ripple with surprise and emotion. "Sarah's niece?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm following in her footsteps. Just graduated from the academy, assigned to SG-7. Sarah would be very proud. I hope so. She's why I joined, why I wanted to serve. When I was younger, I thought she was just being brave. Now I understand she was being necessary. Someone had to stand between the darkness and the light. Someone had to make the hard choices. And now you make them, Selendi said gently. I try. It's what she would have wanted. Indeed, Lieutenant Mitchell, if you ever need counsel, guidance, or simply someone who knew your aunt, I am here. Thank you, Executor, that means a lot. She paused. Can I ask, was she afraid at the end? Selendi's considered how to answer. She was terrified. But she did it anyway. That is what courage means, not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Good. I'd hate to think she was fearless makes her more human. She was very human, and that was her greatest strength. Later that evening, Selendi's quarters, Protoss Embassy, Washington, D.C. The embassy was a fusion of Protoss and human architecture, crystalline spires rising alongside more conventional structures. Selendi's had her own quarters there, decorated with items from both cultures. On one wall, a holographic display showing Ayer as it had been before the Zerg, a reminder of what was lost. On another, a photograph of SG-1, Mitchell, Teal'c, Daniel, Vala, all smiling, taken a week before the final battle, a reminder of what was gained. Vorazun materialized via teleportation. Still awake, Executor. It is late by human standards. I do not require as much rest as humans, and I was thinking, dangerous activity, about what? About how far we have come. 5 years ago we came to this galaxy as conquerors, certain of our superiority, arrogant in our judgment. And we nearly destroyed everything, but we learned, we adapted, we grew because of them, because humans like Sarah Mitchell showed us there was another way. Vorazun settled into a seated position, or as close to sitting as Protoss got. You miss her. Every day, she was my friend. Perhaps the first true friend I made in millennia. And she died because I could not find another way to stop Ammon. She chose to die. That is different from being killed. Honor her choice. I try. But some days it is difficult. Those are the days you must push forward anyway. That is what she would want. Yes. Selendi's activated a communication console. Speaking of pushing forward, I have the report from the Koprulu sector. Our gateway home remains stable. Trade between our galaxies increases monthly. Some Protoss are choosing to remain in the Milky Way. Some humans are emigrating to the Koprulu sector. True integration. Not just coexistence, but merging of cultures. Is that not what the ancients dreamed of? What the Xel'Naga failed to achieve? Different species working together not because they must, but because they choose to. Perhaps. But we should be cautious. The ancients ascended and abandoned their children. The Xel'Naga created species and tried to control them. We must avoid those mistakes. We will. Because we have learned the lesson Sarah died to teach us. Diversity is strength. Freedom is sacred. And no species, no matter how advanced, has the right to impose its will on others. A chime indicated an incoming transmission. Selendi's activated it. Executor Nyan appeared, his hologram showing him on a dusty world somewhere. His armor was no longer pristine warrior gold but work-worn and practical. Selendi's, I am calling to report completion of the reconstruction on Hellet Roman 3. The colony is habitable again. Human and Protoss settlers can return whenever they wish. Excellent work, Nyan. That is the 15th world you have reclaimed this year. It is not enough. It will never be enough. But it is what I can do. It is more than enough. You have proven that redemption is possible, that even those who fell farthest can rise again. Perhaps. Thank you, Selendi's, for believing that, for giving me the chance to prove it. Thank you for taking that chance. Entaro Tassadar, brother. Entaro Tassadar, sister. The transmission ended. Vorazun observed. He seems well, scarred but healing, as are we all. The war left scars on everyone, but scars prove we survived, that we fought, that we endured, and that we built something better from the ashes. Yes. Something Sarah would be proud of. They sat in comfortable silence, two ancient warriors who'd learned that peace required more courage than war. 1 month later, Atlantis, Pegasus Galaxy, the annual remembrance ceremony every year on the anniversary of the final battle, the Milky Way Koprulu Alliance held a remembrance ceremony. It rotated between locations: Earth, Aer partially reclaimed, and Atlantis. This year was Atlantis's turn. Thousands gathered in the city's main plaza, humans, Protoss, Jaffa, even some of the peaceful Taldarim who'd integrated into society. They came to remember, to honor, to ensure the fallen were never forgotten. The memorial wall had grown. Now it listed not just those who died in the war, but those who died in the 5 years since, building the alliance, defending it from threats, exploring the unknown together. General Jack O'Neill, retired, gave the opening remarks. 5 years ago, we stood on the brink. 2 galaxies, dozens of species, all facing extinction at the hands of a false god who promised perfection through domination. We won, but the cost was staggering. Millions dead, worlds devastated. And individuals like Colonel Sarah Mitchell, who gave everything so the rest of us could have a future. Today, we honor them. And we remember why we fought, not for conquest, not for domination, but for freedom. The freedom to choose our own paths, to make our own mistakes, to build our own futures. The alliance we've built isn't perfect. We still argue, still disagree, still struggle to understand each other sometimes. But we're trying, and that trying, that constant effort to be better, that's Sarah's real legacy. So today we remember. Tomorrow we continue building. And always we honor those who made it possible. Selendi spoke next. I have addressed this gathering for 5 years now. Each time I struggle with what to say, how to honor the fallen, how to ensure their sacrifice is remembered. This year I have decided to speak not of grand strategy or philosophical lessons, but of something simpler: friendship. 5 years ago I met Colonel Sarah Mitchell. She was my enemy. I had invaded her galaxy, killed her people, threatened her world. Every logical reason suggested we should remain enemies, but Sarah chose differently. She chose to reach across that divide, to see me not as an enemy to be destroyed, but as a person who'd made a mistake, as someone who could be redeemed. That choice changed everything, changed me. Changed the Protoss, changed 2 galaxies. I have been asked many times, was the price of this alliance worth the deaths it cost? Would Sarah's sacrifice have been necessary if the Protoss had never come to your galaxy? The answer is, we cannot know. The past cannot be changed. But I can tell you this, if given the choice again, knowing all that would happen, all the death and pain and loss, I would still choose to come, because what we built from that tragedy is too precious to wish away. Sarah Mitchell died so that Protoss and humans could stand together, so that our species could learn from each other, so that her niece, Lieutenant Samantha Mitchell, standing over there, could grow up in a galaxy where humans and Protoss are not enemies but friends. That is worth dying for. That is worth living for. That is what we defend every day. Entaro Sarah Mitchell. Entaro all who fell. Entaro the future they gave us. The ceremony continued for hours, names read aloud, stories shared, tears shed for those who would never return. As the sun set over Atlantis, casting golden light across the ancient city, Selendi stood alone on a balcony overlooking the ocean. Vorazun joined her, thinking of Sarah again, always. But today, I am also thinking of what she helped us create. Look at them. She gestured to the plaza below where humans and Protoss mingled freely, children playing together, warriors trading stories, scientists collaborating. This is not coexistence. This is integration. It is remarkable and fragile. We must protect it. We will. For as long as we exist, we will protect what Sarah died to build. You have become very human, Selendis. Perhaps. Or perhaps humanity has helped me become more truly Protoss, to understand what the Xel'Naga intended when they created us. Not weapons, not tools, but beings capable of choice, of growth, of becoming more than we were. That is evolution, not biological but philosophical. Yes, and it is the most important evolution of all. They stood in silence, watching the sunset, two ancient warriors who'd learned that the greatest battles were not fought with weapons but with choice. The choice to be better, the choice to grow, the choice to honor the dead by building a world worth living in. 10 years after the final battle, Earth, Colorado Springs Mitchell family home, Lieutenant Samantha Mitchell sat in her childhood living room, surrounded by family photos. Her aunt's medals and commendations hung on one wall, a shrine to the hero who'd saved 2 galaxies. A knock at the door. She opened it to find Executor Selendi standing there, looking awkward in her humanoid configuration. "Executor, what are you doing here? I received your message. That today is a difficult day for you, the 10th anniversary of Sarah's death. I thought you might appreciate company." "Come in, please." They sat together in the living room. Selendi's looked around at the photos, the medals, the memorabilia. She is well remembered. Too well sometimes. Everyone knows her as a hero, but I remember her as Aunt Sarah, the woman who taught me to ride a bike, who helped with my homework, who believed I could be anything I wanted. That is the best way to remember her, not as a legend but as a person. It's just hard, knowing she's gone, knowing I'll never see her again. I understand. I too have lost friends, comrades, those I cared for deeply. The pain does not disappear, but it becomes manageable, transformed into motivation to honor their memory by living well. Is that what you do? Live well to honor the dead every day. I build cities with your people. I negotiate treaties. I teach young Protoss and humans to work together. And I tell stories of Sarah Mitchell so that generations from now, when I am dust and you are gone, people will still know her name, still remember her sacrifice. Thank you for that, for everything. It is I who should thank you, your family, for producing someone like Sarah, for raising a woman capable of such courage. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Samantha asked, "Do you think she's proud, wherever she is?" Selendi's considered. "I think if consciousness persists after death, if Sarah watches somehow, she sees what we have built and smiles. The alliance thrives. The peace holds. Her sacrifice was not in vain. What more could she ask for?" "Yeah, you're right," Samantha smiled. "Want to hear some embarrassing stories about her? The ones that didn't make it into the official histories? I would be honored." They spent the evening sharing stories, laughing, remembering, honoring a hero not through grief but through joy, because that's what Sarah would have wanted. 20 years after the final battle, joint human-Protoss colony, planet New Harmony, Milky Way, the colony had been established 15 years ago. One of the first worlds jointly settled by humans and Protoss from the beginning. No conversion of existing cities. No integration of separate settlements. Just building together from day one. And it had worked beautifully. Human architects and Protoss phase smiths collaborated on buildings that combined the best of both species techniques. Human farmers and Protoss cultivators developed hybrid crops that thrived in previously marginal soil. Human teachers and Protoss mentors educated children of both species together. Executor Selendi's, now officially retired from military service, walked through the colony's central plaza. She'd been invited to give a lecture at the university, both species learning together in an institution that would have been unimaginable 20 years ago. As she walked, she noticed something remarkable: young humans and Protoss playing together, not formally, not as part of some cultural exchange program, just playing. A human child teaching a young Protoss how to kick a soccer ball. A Protoss youth showing human children how to create simple psionic light patterns. They laughed together, competed together, grew together. This is what Sarah died for, Selendi's thought. Not treaties, not trade agreements, but this. The simple act of children playing together, seeing each other not as alien but as friends. Executor Selendes, a voice called out. She turned. A middle-aged woman approached, someone she recognized from old files. Ambassador Tyria, I did not expect to see you here. I could say the same. I'm heading the cultural exchange program at the university. You're here for the lecture. Yes, on the history of the Protoss-Human Alliance. 20 years seems an appropriate time for reflection. It does. Walk with me. They walked through the colony together, discussing the progress made, the challenges remaining, the future possibilities. You know, Tyria said, there's a new generation coming up that doesn't remember the war. To them, Protoss and humans working together is normal, expected. They don't see it as remarkable. Is that good or bad? Both, maybe. Good because it means we've succeeded, created a world where cooperation is default. Bad because they might not appreciate how hard-won this peace was. How many died to make it possible? Then we remind them, through education, through ceremony, through stories. We ensure Sarah Mitchell and all who fell are never forgotten. Speaking of which, have you seen the new memorial they're building? In the colony's central square, she led Selendes to a construction site where a massive statue was taking shape. It showed 3 figures standing together, a human, a Jaffa, and a Protoss, united, equal, strong. And at the base, an inscription, in honor of all who fought for unity in memory of Colonel Sarah Mitchell, who showed us that different species can become one people. Entaro Tori. Entaro Adun. Kinentala. We are one. It is beautiful, Selendes projected. It will be ready for the 20th anniversary ceremony next month. You'll come back for it. I would not miss it for anything. The lecture that evening, Selendes stood before an auditorium filled with humans and Protoss, students, faculty, and curious citizens. The hall was packed, standing room only. She began. 20 years ago, the Protoss came to your galaxy as invaders. We believed we were righteous, that we were saving you from a threat you did not understand. We were wrong. Our mistake cost millions of lives, devastated worlds, created suffering that still echoes today. But from that tragedy, we built something remarkable, not just an alliance, but a true union. 2 species, 3, counting our Jaffa friends, learning to work together, to respect each other, to build a shared future. I have been asked to speak about how this happened. What made the alliance possible? And the answer is simple. One human woman who refused to accept that war was inevitable. Colonel Sarah Mitchell could have hated us, could have demanded revenge, could have insisted that the Protoss be driven from your galaxy or destroyed. Instead, she reached out. She sought understanding. She chose friendship over enmity. That choice saved us all. I have lived for centuries. I have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. I have seen species achieve greatness and fall to darkness, but I have never seen anything as remarkable as what we have built here. Young ones, she looked at the students in the audience, you do not remember the war. You have grown up in a galaxy where Protoss and humans work together, where joint colonies are common, where mixed crews staff ships exploring the unknown. To you, this is normal. But it is not. It is extraordinary, and it exists only because thousands of beings chose to make it so. Chose to overcome fear, hatred, and prejudice. Chose to build bridges instead of walls. Never forget that. Never take this peace for granted, because it was bought with blood and sacrifice, and it must be defended every day through continued choice to cooperate, to understand, to grow together. Colonel Sarah Mitchell gave her life for this future. Ensure that sacrifice was not in vain. Be worthy of what she built. Entaro Tori. Entaro Adun. Kinentala, we are one. The auditorium erupted in applause, hands clapping and psionic presence surging in approval. After the lecture, students surrounded her with questions about the war, about Sarah, about what it was like to change from enemy to ally. One young Protoss asked, "Did you ever regret allying with humans?" After all you had done, did you ever wish you had remained separate? Selendes looked at the youth, born after the war, raised in peace, innocent of the horrors that had preceded his existence. Never, she said firmly. The alliance is the greatest achievement of my existence, greater than any battle I won, greater than any world I conquered. Because it proves that we can grow, that we can change, that we can become better than what we were, and that is worth everything. 50 years after the final battle, Selendes's final days, even Protoss die eventually. And at nearly 800 years old, Executor Selendes knew her time was approaching. She lay in a medical chamber on Earth. She'd requested to die here, in the galaxy she'd once invaded, among the species she'd come to love. Her final visitors came one by one. Vorazun, you were a worthy ally, Selendes. Kali and Nerazim were divided for millennia. You helped heal that wound. For that I thank you. Nyan, sister, you showed me that redemption is possible, that honor requires admitting error. I will carry that lesson for the rest of my days. Braddock, you arrived as an enemy, you died as a friend. Few can claim such transformation. The Jaffa honor your memory, Executor. And finally, an old woman, Samantha Mitchell, now a retired general herself, gray-haired and weathered but still strong. Executor, I wanted to say goodbye and to thank you. For what? For honoring my aunt, for ensuring her sacrifice mattered. For building the world she died to create. It was my privilege. She was the best of humanity, the best of any species. I am honored to have known her. She'd say the same about you, you know, that you were the best of the Protoss. That you proved growth is always possible. I hope I lived up to her faith. You did. The alliance stands strong, 2 galaxies united, hundreds of worlds cooperating. That's your legacy, yours and hers together. Then I can die content. Thank you, Samantha Mitchell, for everything. Intaro Tori. Intaro Adun, Executor, rest well. Later that night, Selendes's consciousness faded slowly, her connection to the Kala weakening as her physical form failed. In her final moments, she thought she saw something, a figure made of light, smiling at her. Sarah, she thought. The figure nodded. Took you long enough, Executor. I've been waiting, You are here. Consciousness does persist, apparently, or I'm a hallucination your dying brain is creating. Either way, I'm here. I missed you. Every day for 50 years I missed you. I know I was always watching. Proud of everything you built, we built together. Even after death, your example guided us. That's sweet. But I'm not here for sentiment. I'm here to welcome you home. Home, wherever we go next, whatever comes after. You don't think I'd let you face it alone, do you? We're friends. Friends stick together. Selendes's consciousness, her essence, herself, reached out toward the light. And Sarah Mitchell's spirit reached back. 2 warriors, 2 friends, 2 beings from different worlds who'd learned that unity was stronger than division, together in death as they'd been in life. 100 years after the final battle, Earth, Stargate Command Memorial Garden dedication of the eternal flame the garden had grown over the century. Now it encompassed the entire mountain, with memorial stones for every being who died in the war and in service of the Alliance afterward. And at its center, newly dedicated, the Eternal Flame, a fusion of proto-psionic energy and human technology burning forever in memory of those who'd fallen. Above it, holographic names scrolled endlessly, millions of names, billions perhaps. But 2 names were highlighted, rotating around the flame. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, Executor, Selendes, founders of Unity. The dedication ceremony was attended by thousands. Leaders from dozens of species. Humans, Protoss, Jaffa, even some of the peaceful Taldarim. A young woman gave the keynote address. Ambassador Alara Mitchell Karras, great-great-niece of Sarah, married to a Protoss diplomat, representing everything the Alliance had achieved. 100 years ago, 2 species met in violence. Misunderstanding led to war. War led to death. Death led to grief, but grief led to understanding. Understanding led to cooperation. Cooperation led to friendship, and friendship led to unity. Today, we don't just have an alliance, we are one people. Human and Protoss genetics are merging, hybrid children born who are both species. Our cultures are RE Chinese letter. Our technologies are integrated. Our futures are shared. We stand here today under this eternal flame to remember how it began, to honor those who died building it, and to rededicate ourselves to preserving what they created. Great Aunt Sarah, Executor Celendis, we remember. We honor, we continue your work. Intero Tori, Intero Adun, Kinentala, we are one, now, forever, always. The flame burned brighter, fed by psionic energy from thousands of minds, human, Protoss, and hybrid, all joined in remembrance. And in that moment, across 2 galaxies, billions of beings paused, reflected, remembered, the war that nearly destroyed them, the sacrifice that saved them, and the unity that defined them. Final scene: 200 years after the final battle, the memorial wall, Earth. 2 figures stood before the wall. One human, one Protoss, both young products of the Alliance, raised in peace, knowing war only from history books. Do you think they knew? The human asked. Colonel Mitchell and Executor Celendis, do you think they knew what they were building? I believe they hoped, the Protoss replied, but they could not have known. They acted on faith, on belief that a better future was possible. And they were right. Yes, though the cost was terrible. All great things cost terribly. The question is whether we honor that cost. Do we honor it? Look around. The human gestured to the city below. Humans and Protoss working together, building together, living together. 2 species, once enemies, now one people, colonies across 2 galaxies. Peace that's lasted 2 centuries. I'd say we honor it pretty well. Then their sacrifice was not in vain. Never. And as long as we remember, as long as we continue their work, it never will be. They stood in silence, honoring the dead, celebrating the living, believing in the future. Because that's what Sarah, Mitchell, and Celendis had taught them, that unity is possible, that redemption is real, that different species can become one people, that from war we can learn peace, that from misunderstanding we can forge unity, that even the darkest night can lead to dawn. Intero Tori, Intero Adun, Kinentala, we are one, forever, the end.